Well, hello, welcome to the science. Hello, everybody. Thank you ever so much for coming along. Hello, Mervyn. Hello, little unicorn, Gwyneth, Pete, little unicorn again. loads of people here. Jenny, Lynn, and anyone I've missed out. Just been scrolling through there. I put the link up. I'll put the link up again to the. Oh, sorry, I've got to do it again because I just put the link up to the Sun article that Gwyneth asked about. There have been two, haven't there? Right, I'm just going to get the link again. How do I do that? How do I do it? Oh, invite. Oh God, I've frozen. How do I do that? How do I get the invite guest? Invite guests to the studio. I'm in a studio apparently. It's actually just my living room. But so let me try to keep up with everybody. Hi, little unicorn. Hi, Gwyneth. Mervyn says the Sun article was great. Great rebuttal of Liz Hull. Yeah, there's been two in the Sun, haven't there? There've been a Son of turnaround, and like they're playing a blinder, as they say. I don't know if that's putting it too strongly, but there's some really important articles coming out in the Sun. A couple. Jenny says vultures are cashing in on the NHS at a time where the NHS is vulnerable. Yeah, it's been very interesting watching your videos, Jenny, when you're comparing the NHS to the American system. I thought that was amazing when you looked at the different types of hospitals, the competitive nature between them, and hospitals operating on a different level for different client groups or groups of patients, as it were, and they're always on the look to sort of whether they can sort of nab another hospital or other patients or funding. So that was fascinating. I'm just going to have a sip of tea actually, because I get a bit nervous doing this. A bit nervous. So Jenny says all is well. Deep diving into the corruption of our systems. Yeah, that goes to what I was just saying. Into your systems, looks like a lot of NHS people bought a lot of American products, medical devices, computer platforms, etc. Well, there's something quite recently. Hello, Claire Davidson. There's something recently come out about Palantir, this organisation called Palantir, who are, I think, now involved with NHS data, and they're a bit sus at the very least. I think. I don't know if I don't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole in this live, but we could if you want. Talk about whatever you want to. Hello, E-Symmetry. Hello, everybody. Hello, Zoe. Lovely to see you as well. Lovely to see you, little unicorn. The way the funding has changed within the NHS. Yeah, there's a sort of Michelle Warden talks. Well, Michelle Warden also talks about it, but the other channel that's I think her name is it Deb? Our old school RN talks about a period in time where basically the people that were coming into management all had MBAs. They were coming from a very different background. The corporate NHS, I think she termed it. Hello, Truthful Out. Hi, Zoe. And great to see you all. Thanks so much for coming on. There's I thought to do this. I always kind of do it on the hoof, as it were. But it's just been the proliferation of articles that have come out. And there's been some really staggering ones, hasn't there? This one today, it's got, hello, Melanistic Marble. I'll try to keep up with the chat. I'll try to multitask, which is, yeah, Palantir. I just want to see what Melanistic Marble says about that. Building the federated data platform, a route to digital ID without public consultation. Yeah, because they've got an overall, from what I basically understand it as, a desire to make themselves, Palantir this is now, make themselves indispensable. Once they're in a system, you're kind of locked in some way. Somebody put it better on a video I watched. You're locked into their system because they've kind of They're like some kind of octopusy thing. But yeah, it's all about where's my foil? Where's my foil? But I absolutely believe that they're a bit dodgy, Palantir. They seem to be anyway. Little Unicorn Jar says, can you explain the funding or lead me to a source so I can find? Yeah, there was a really interesting, about a 15-minute or an hour video I watched about a year ago. It was by a NHS GP. He'd gone full into this over years, looking at how, I think he kind of termed it that the NHS was being effectively asset stripped, and effectively going into sort of private hands while that process was being sort of occluded and covered up over a period of years. And so that so much of the money that's paid in through the taxation system that goes into the NHS actually ends up in private hands more and more. Yeah, so that's that. I'll put the link again in case anybody would like to. So I'm not all on my own on the screen. Looks like the NHS has bought into our corporate MBAs staff. Our systems are run by accountants, MBAs and lawyers. I think this is what you termed the bean counters, wasn't it, Jenny? Bean counters on one of your videos, or maybe more than one. Hi, everyone. It took me too long to figure out the third of the third. Oh yeah, sorry, that's me being cryptic. I don't know why I do that. I should have put it a bit more clearly. I don't know why. I couldn't think of a title. I suppose because I wasn't sure exactly what we'd be talking about, but it usually is inevitably about the miscarriage of justice against Lucy Letby, isn't it? Understandably. Particularly with all that's going on. Little Unicorn says, Michelle Warden talked about it in her last interview with Chris Morris, but essentially funding is attributed to the patient now rather than hospital. Or yeah, that's it. That was it, wasn't it? The funding follows the patient around. I remember Michelle Warden saying that, but it causes all kinds of problems then with how to administrate care and how to. It just makes it an impossible system to run, or much more difficult. That was the gist of it, I think, wasn't it? Little Unicorn says, it might explain why so many babies end up at the COC. Yeah. I don't know whether to mention the whole North Wales thing again, but I would. I've actually made some notes. Hello, Casbar. Hello, Kaz. There's got this thing about cross-border funding. I did a couple of FOIs, but Michelle, the warden, had already mentioned to me that it was only a one-way street, that NHS Wales could buy care in England, but not the other way around. And I think I may have put up Michelle's email to me, in which she said, well, there was an instance that she could think of where Glenclwyd, one of the North Wales hospitals, would have been the most appropriate for a particular baby. But they couldn't do it because there wasn't this cross-funding arrangement from England into Wales. So there's all that sort of stuff going on. And so I made a few little notes. Hi, Pat. Lovely to see you as well. Lovely to see you all. Hope you don't mind. I'm just going to wet the old whistle, but 36 people watching. I tend to get really nervous before it starts. And I haven't had any sherbet. Melanistic Marble says, I just watched Black's latest video. Oh, yeah, that's another thing to talk about, isn't it? Where she mentioned Dr. or Professor, I think he's an honorary professor at the University of East Anglia, Paul Clark. He thinks Lee's sign can occur in neonates with venous air injection. Yeah, there's, in case anyone hasn't seen it, I'll put the link. I'll put the link in the thing, which is the Sun article, which is a rebuttal or a correction from Professor Lee with regard to Liz Hull's podcast, in which she's interviewing Dr. Clark, and Professor Lee said, you know, well, why didn't you pay me any respect? You should have called me if you had anything to say about this, you know. So really, rather than, but he didn't read the references that were appending to the articles, and that Dr. Lee had done, and he assumed that that Dr. Lee had done, or Professor Lee had done. Sometimes I get mixed up who's a doctor, who's a professor. Maybe they're both, aren't they? But they were there. He just had to look at the supplementary material, didn't he? Dr. Clark should have done, but didn't. And Professor Lee, in that very polite way, but it's also pretty like he's saying, well, how come this guy didn't know this? You should know this. If you're a researcher, you would know to do that, because it said in the main article that he wrote, there is supplementary material that you need to find on the website, but he didn't do that because they were champing at the bit. Hello, Martin Walker. Hi there. Hi, PGNE 4BT. I'll dual screen you and LFC if that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how that works. Oh, dual screen me like you're watching different things. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I wasn't sure. It sounds painful being dual screened, but hopefully it's not. Professor Clark didn't read any of the Taiwan paper according to the questions he refused to answer on X. Yeah. I sent a query to Cheshire Police, and I didn't ask them because you know there was the payments going to Paul Clark there were 3 separate payments in the hundreds of pounds, which doesn't seem that much really if he is the person that was giving him all that information. But maybe he was on board in 2024 in some way. I don't know. There'd have to be another inquiry about that. But I asked them because it's not been absolutely, it's not been explained or shown absolutely that he is the Paul Clark, but I think it's highly likely. So I asked the police: are these payments? The first question is: are they in relation to Operation Hummingbird? And then part B of the question is, so I'm not even going to go, is this Dr. Clark? So it would just become apparent, it would be self-evident. So are they in relation to Operation Hummingbird? Part B is, are they in relation to advice with regard to neonatology? So if it's yes to both of those, if they do answer, then it's obviously it's an absolute explicit thing that Dr. Paul Clark, Honorary Professor Paul Clark, was in conjunction with Bill Yoxall and possibly more than another expert. We don't know, do we? We don't know that definitively, I don't think. That they were behind they were the expert advice that backed up the full file sent to the CPS that was then rejected. Hi, Julie Wheeler. Lovely to see you as well. Sorry if I'm missing any comments or anything. Yeah, Professor Lee's the man. He is, absolutely. I mean, he does it in such a kind of stylish way, classy way, but he's basically saying, you know, how come you didn't read all the references to this and you've misunderstood this? And also, the brilliant thing he did in the article is say that in the Liz Hull podcast with Dr. Clark, they were accusing Professor Lee or Dr. Lee of saying something that he didn't say. Then they attacked the thing that he didn't say as though he had said it. So is that classic, you know? Hi, Catherine. Nice, lovely to see you. I'm trying to click on everybody's words. Hi, Julie. Sorry if I've missed any comments. It's never deliberate. It's just my poor brain. So that's a big thing that's gone on. Now, this article today by Felicity Lawrence and and David Conn, C-O-N-N, which I'll just put it in the, I'm just going to put it now in the chat. This is really big, and on Twitter, it's made a big splash, as you imagine it would, with regard to Professor Hindmarsh. So many professors, so little time. There's just so much, and we knew about it. We knew that for quite a while that he no longer had a right to practice, that he had deregistered. But it goes much more into the meat of the matter in terms of the timeline in relation to his giving evidence in the trial, while at the same time being investigated. One thing that really stood out to me there is that the prosecutor Johnson said, well, if you try to ban him as a you know, he would fight that, you know. But they should, I don't know if they did try, if the defense did try to get him removed, Hindmarsh. But Johnson's argument was that, well, the GMC investigation has not concluded yet, therefore he should be seen as a legitimate witness, even though, and this is another thing that more detail that comes out in the Guardian article, is that even though as part of the ongoing tribunal about his fitness to practice, Hindmarsh was saying that was his ability to act as an expert witness also compromised. Now, and the crucial thing here is, was the jury made? Was any of this made known to the jury? And I don't think it was. Yeah, I bet Hindmarsh was doing dodgy research. I mean, I saw some things come up on Twitter. It's not definitive exactly what he was doing or not doing, but there's this very strong warning there that he could be a risk to patients, wasn't it? And then that was extended by the fact that he may also, as a doctor, if he's continued to allow to practice and meet patients, he would be meeting with children. So I'm not making any direct inferences there, but it was obviously thought that he was a risk. So that's quite a serious concern, that you're a direct risk to patients. They also specifically stipulate that he would potentially be a risk. I'm not saying directly he's a risk to children as opposed to it, but potentially anyone he would come in contact with it, as in his role as a doctor. So, and then he jumps before he's pushed, doesn't he? He jumps before he's pushed, and he deregisters then. And my understanding is that he's still working in some capacity, some kind of perhaps research capacity at the university. I did send him an email a few months back, and it was an email kind of asking him to sort of search his conscience, as it were, in light of everything that's come out. But I didn't get a reply there. It might not have got to him, but he certainly had or seemed to have an active email address still there and was still in position, but obviously no longer registered to practice. The Times, that's interesting, PGNE. The Times has also run the Hindmarsh story too. It's hit really strongly, that hasn't it? Pete Malley says, sounds like unauthorized, unethical research on children, Hindmarsh. That's a very interesting idea, because there's a crossover with, and I can't remember, because I know Stuart Gillam did some amazing videos on this to do with what's his face, David Southall. Southall's very unethical, or thought to be unethical, research on children, which could have led to some serious harm afterwards. And certainly there were parents that were concerned that treatment or research under the auspices of David Southall had led to harm to their child. But if you go to Stuart Gillam's YouTube channel, that he's done some really excellent videos on that when he was looking into Southall. All these names, isn't it? It's all these kind of people and this histories. It's quite. Jenny says, not only would Hindmarsh be caring for diabetic kids, but those with serious hormone issues. That smells of possible drug research. Yeah, it could be something. I mean, I won't say where my mind went. I suppose it went to something perhaps even more nefarious, but perhaps I shouldn't go down that line. But I just don't know what it is. Probably something, like you're saying, professional, that he's gone beyond his bounds in some way, and he's done things that were unauthorized or unethical. But I don't know if that'll ever come out. I wonder if it will now. I wonder if it will come out exactly what it is. But it's not looking good for the prosecution team of experts. I don't know what collective noun we should use for them, really, but you've got Dr. Bowen, who was complained about by 24 families, wasn't it? Who's no longer in that role there in Guernsey. Obviously, you've got Evans, everything that came about that recent article where he misdiagnosed a child that had a brain tumor, wasn't it, and said it was bulimia, even though the child was only, I think, 8 or 9 years old. It's coming thick and fast. So that's 3 out of 8 or so. It's getting on for half of them, really, with some very, very serious problems, putting it mildly. Pete Malley, sorry. Sounds like unauthorized unethical research on children. Hindmarsh. Oh yeah, I think I did that one. Hello, Richard Gill. Hi, Richard. Professor Gill is here in the house. That's lovely, and hope you're well. Hope you're all well. Richard says, I'll put the link on again if anybody would like to come on the screen. Oh no, I've got to copy and paste it again. Invite guest. How do I do that? So I do that. So you just click on this link if you'd like to come on and speak on the screen, and you could do it without being on visually. You could just do it with audio if you want to. It's up to you. So Richard says there was an early controversy. Hindmarsh joined a group of doctors who ganged up on a endocrinologist, Helen Weberly. Oh, right. Is that something that we've recently found out? Was that something that's new to you, Richard, or new to us all? It's not ringing a bell for me, but maybe I've just forgotten it. That's very interesting. So there's often history. I shouldn't say there's always history, but there's often history, isn't there? Little Unicorn 25 says, who is the next person to quote unquote retire? Yeah, I wonder. Did someone say Ben Myers has gone abroad? Oh no, I hadn't heard that. He's gone abroad. He's also a writer, isn't he? He writes, I'm not sure if it's some kind of fantasy genre. Richard said it's an old story, that is. Oh, it was spoken about in the beginning. Well, that's funny you should say that, because Helen Weberly, that name rang a bell, but I couldn't remember the connection to Hindmarsh. It's like an ever-growing or a very large cast of characters. Oh, children's books, is it? Jenny says, please elaborate about Hindmarsh and Weberly. Oh, Richard Gill is there. I'm going to add Richard to the stage now. Little Unicorn says children's books.
Right.
Oh, hello there, Richard. Well, thank you very much
for joining.
Me. Yes, very clear indeed, yes.
Okay. Let me tell you what I know about this endocrinologist thing.
Thank you.
It was right in the beginning of the whole Lucy Letby business, and people were already then talking about Hindmarsh being a controversial figure, and he was being investigated for something, or had been what's the word, sort of, been told off for doing naughty things, and but I can't split my screen and look it up on Google at the same time, and I'm looking at another screen on my iPhone, and there's a what do you call it, an r/ a Reddit post r/transgender UK. So it's about sort of sex change and sex manipulation by endocrinologists.
Gosh,
And
that's unusual.
I don't know any more about it than that, but I know Hindmarsh was already a controversial figure when he sort of first appeared in the Letby case.
Do you happen to know, Richard, in light of that, whether he had a history of acting as an expert witness per se?
No, I'm afraid I don't. So I mean,
No, I don't know.
I'd like to sort of sign off it again in a moment in the audio, because I don't have anything else to say about the Hindmarsh question. Actually, I did share a couple of emails with him right in the beginning. I tried to sort of, I was asking him about the insulin business and that it didn't make sense, but he very rapidly stopped communicating.
He stopped. Were you mentioning like Vincent Marks and other people?
Yeah, I think that's kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, as I said a few minutes ago, I wrote to him and sort of appealing to say, you know, could he reflect on what's been coming out? I mean, this is all supposing that they're all following this. I would imagine they might be, but perhaps they're not. Perhaps they're kind of going into kind of bunker mentality and just hoping they never hear about it again. You know, I'm talking about people like Anna Milan, Monarides, Hindmarsh, etc. Although today Hindmarsh will be, Dr. Hindmarsh will be aware that it's in the news and
there was a chat. There was some exchange of tweets on Twitter this afternoon. I forget who it was. I think maybe Guy Rowlands was asking, is there some sort of pattern here that why are these dodgy persons turning up as expert witnesses? And my opinion is that they're the police know who might very likely help them, and they're the people who probably charge a lot of money and are very confident that they can help them very well, and actually have a kind of a profession doing work in trials, expert work in court cases, but which means, of course, that they're not the people actually doing a lot of research or doing science. They're not the professors with big research projects. No, they're the other ones who've got this kind of money-making enterprise going instead. And they tend to be people who speak very authoritatively and confidently about their findings. And the police love that, and you know, juries are impressed by that. And the police and the police are fooled by such people.
Yes, it's interesting that I saw your tweet about that, and I did very much get it, that it would be in the interests of the prosecution to not have any kind of nuance there as far as they could avoid it, so that they want people just to be able to say it's this, it's that, it's this, and not to introduce anything that the defense could then. I mean, we've got this idea that's been projected is that an expert witness should ideally, in an ideal world, irrespective of which party is funding them being there, is paying them, should give the same evidence either way. But I'm not sure whether it works out that way in practice.
Well, it probably doesn't work out that way in practice. They should certainly try to. They should do their honest best to. The problem is they're going to be influenced by things which the party who's paying them tells them, little side things, little extra bits of information. So it's almost impossible for them not to become biased to some extent. But still, if you're a person of integrity, you should still be able to avoid that having too much of an influence on yourself, and be honestly all the time thinking, well, what else could be the explanation here, and honestly saying what it is. And that, I mean, and it's written in the rules for the expert witnesses. They are advising the court. They're not there to support one side or the other. They're there to tell the court what, like, their expertise or their science says about some piece of the evidence, which ordinary people can't interpret, and you need an expert to interpret that, and they should do that, and they should have the same story, whoever puts that evidence in front of them.
Yes, I think that's right, and but I think you've kind of
that's in theory. No, I've been an
that's
expert.
In theory. It's really.
I've been an expert sitting down in a room of experts gathered by the prosecution during the investigative period. So I forget if already there was a defense lawyer present, but it was very clear that it did give, there was a sort of an atmosphere of together we're going to try to sort this out and do the right thing, and we were being influenced by the ideas which the police had, and by the things they told us about the other parts of the case which were not of our expertise.
Well, indeed, and it's also, isn't it true that, well, I think it's likely to be true that it's not so much even what they necessarily solely what they say on the witness stand, it's what they don't say, it's where they won't go. And I just think I think it was Anna Milan who said of the immunoassays when she was asked about it, the bit in red, and said, well, yes, it's advisory that you do that, which always sounded to me like, well, she's trying to find a way of saying, well, it's still okay, we can still rely on these immunoassays, but I'm not going to explicitly say that they shouldn't be relied upon. And I think she could have gone further with that and said that obviously there's it's not a forensic test, really, isn't it? So that,
yeah, well, it's I'm stunned by what Milan and also what Gwen Walk apparently have said, because it's in direct contradiction to what Gwen Walk has written in a paper published 2 years earlier.
Yes, I've seen you make that point before, and it's absolutely.
And there are so many other things which need to be done. Now, I'm wondering if her words have somehow been taken out of context, because it's sort of what everybody is taught in medical school, that you do this and then you do that, and then you look at the ratio, the C-peptide and the insulin, and if that comes out, then dot dot dot. But it's sort of common knowledge, but only the experts know that that's not the whole story. And
yes.
And Gwen Walk, in that paper in 2013, there's a list of all the extra tests which need to be done in order, if you do it by immunoassay, because you don't have to go to the mass spec, whatever it is, mass spectrometry, liquid chromatography, etc. You don't have to do that. They didn't used to have that. What they at the time of the Bev Allitt case, there was alleged insulin poisoning, and they didn't have the mass spectroscopy yet, and they only had the immunoassay. And they did the immunoassay actually very carefully. They had big blood samples, because these were quite big. These were small children, but they weren't babies, so that you could actually take a decent blood sample. You could save it as well. You could save it carefully, and you could do all the tests on it which are needed to rule out all the alternatives, all the reasons why the immunoassay can be misleading. And there are lots of them.
The interference and so forth.
The interference by and also there's the hook effect, and there's this, that, and the other, and there are a whole lot of things which can go wrong, especially when you're just taking a tiny little sample of blood, and you're not in a forensic context, so you're not taking all the precautions which a forensic scientist would do if they were taking some blood at the scene of a crime, and it's really important to have a good sample, etc. Yeah.
Absolutely, so much can go wrong with the transporting or the.
Yes,
Jenny's
exactly,
talked
and
about
because
this.
the blood has to be centrifuged, you have to separate the serum from the whatever. Yeah, you have to take out the red blood corpuscles, just have the serum, and then you have to freeze it really fast, and then you have to keep it frozen really well, etc., etc.,
Yeah,
and at very specific temperatures because you mustn't break all the cells or whatever. I don't know anything about this at all, but there's a whole lot of things you have to do to make sure that that sample is in one piece when you analyze it again.
absolutely, Richard.
This is not done routinely.
No,
Obviously not,
no.
because the hospital is taking little samples of blood and sending them to the lab, and the lab is doing this routinely, day in, day out.
Yes, and when it was received back at the hospital, it wasn't enough of a red flag for them to anybody to follow it
Yeah.
up at the time. Really, the children have both gone home
Well,
by
the
that
lab
stage.
did exactly
One of
what
the
they
children
were.
had gone home.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
lab did just what they were supposed to do, which was actually phone the hospital and pass on the message and have the message passed to the doctor who asked for the test
Yeah.
to sort of tell them this, the small print. Well, not the small print. It's big print in a red box to tell
Yeah.
them that. And so the doctors who were treating those babies, they knew that immediately, and they were not bothered at all. Now that's one thing. The next thing is they didn't bother to tell the consultants when they saw the consultants next.
No, that's right. I mean, from memory, it was Doctor ZA, wasn't it, that had sight of those
Well,
results coming
who sort of remembered it.
Yeah, she remembered it and thought, well, the situation is resolved now. The hyperglycemia is resolved, and the babies are actually back with their parents at home now. I'll try to catch up with some of the comments now, but in case I forget it.
Can you chuck me out?
Oh, do you want to go, or do you want to stay? Would you like?
I'd rather go and.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. Okay, I can. I don't like chucking people out, but I'll do it. Shall I do it? I'll do it gently. I'll do it gently.
Yes. Okay.
It won't hurt. It won't hurt. Lovely to hear from Richard there. So I'll try to catch up now with the comments as well. But before I forget, on Twitter, a gentleman has appeared. I don't know. He might have been there for years, but he's recently started tweeting about this, and he's a gentleman called Dr. Nick Birse, Birse. No doubt some people on Twitter and Richard will have seen his tweets about this. And he's an expert in mass spectrometry, so that's his job. And he's come out and saying that, to simply use these immunoassays on their own, the Roche Elexis immunoassay on its own, is just not tenable. It's you shouldn't be doing it in terms of a forensic case to establish exogenous insulin. You're not meant to do it. So, and that's his expertise. So it's interesting that I think more and more people are coming towards this now. They're being drawn towards it. So, sorry, I'll try to catch up. So I'm Mark and Cindy the dog. I should change that, really. That was my joke for today. Hello. Back to the science. Did you see Dr. Dimitrova's post today? I did. Yeah, it's quite a long post, and I read most of it. And she does, and Dr. Dimitrova said there's more to come. So yes, there obviously will be more to come. Thank you, PG&E. Jenny says, how do I kick from studio? I don't like kicking guests. No, I don't have to kick the guests. Sorry, I'm just trying to work out. Oh no, but it's lovely to see Richard there and hear from Richard directly. Do you think Hindmarsh might have something to do with puberty blockers? That's what an endocrinologist would prescribe. Well, that's an interesting question. There's a lot going on with that at the moment, isn't there? I can't remember where it stands at the moment, but there was some research that was meant to be going on. It's very controversial to do I know they've been doing the puberty blockers for a long time now, and it's been causing a lot of harm, I believe. And but they banned them. But then they were suggesting this trial for children between, I think, 12 and 15. I think that was the age range, 12 and 14, or possibly as young as 11. I'm not sure from memory now, but that's very controversial. That's ongoing now. But yeah, possibly, Jenny. And Melanistic Marble says, Helen Weberly. Oh, yeah, that name rings a bell for something else as well. I can't remember what it is. Oh, gosh. Yes, Helen Weberly, yeah, is a controversial doctor who removed herself from the GMC registers before she was struck off. I thought she was a GP. I wonder if it's the same one, because that's why that name rings a bell, because it's come up in with regard to children being, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, being given things like puberty blockers and such like. I thought she was a GP as well, if it's the same one. That's thank you, Melanistic Marble, because that's what's. Hi, Chariots of Wire, 180. Many months ago, a wise man said Lucy was in a viper pit. How right, Mr. Mark. Thank you. Yeah. Well, yeah, without a doubt, it was a. They just seemed to get. It was a. How many people involved that were really pretty dodgy? We're finding out there's more and more, aren't we? If anybody else would like to come on and can have as many as 6 people in one go, I'll put the link in again into the chat. I made some other notes about some other things going on, but I don't want to miss any comments. Weberly and Hindmarsh, Pete Malley says, got into a fight about hormone gender type therapy for minors. Gosh, thank you for making that more specific, what was going on there. Yeah, it's a very controversial area. Richard Gill is back in the room, as they say. Hi, Richard.
Oh, hi.
You're back in the room. You're back in the room.
But I don't understand how it works, because the things which you just showed, which I said was like 5 minutes earlier. So I just don't understand what's going on here. Anyway,
I don't know. We're in a time. We've gone through a wormhole in time, probably.
I think so. Yeah, it's definitely a wormhole here. Yeah, and maybe I've been cloned, and there's 2 of me now. I think that might be.
Sorry, yeah, but it was to do with. But what were you talking about? This thing to do with puberty blockers as well? Then.
Yes, that was the Weberly and Hindmarsh.
That was the Weberly and Hindmarsh
business.
thing,
It was about helping young people who are unhappy with their genders, and and somebody put in a complaint about Weberly, and a gang of endocrinologists sort of joined in and wrote very strong criticism about what Weberly was doing. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know if it was sort of good or bad, but she was sort of pioneering what nowadays has become kind of routine and accepted. And he was told off because he was writing strongly critical things to the, I don't know, the GMC or whatever it is. Who do you write to when you want to complain about another doctor? And would that be the GMC?
I think. Oh, sorry, you're asking that. Yeah, I believe it would be. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, something like that. So he was like joining in a kind of scrum, attacking a gang of 6 endocrinologists attacking Weberly, and he was told off because he was doing that without actually finding out what she was actually doing or anything. He wasn't. He didn't inform himself as to what it was all about. He just joined in and attacked her. And this is well, yeah.
I mean, I think Helen Weberly and the kind of some of the practices that would have been going on at that time then have been seen in a different light now, and with things that were going on in the Tavistock Institute with regard to giving things like puberty blockers and so on. It's kind of it's in flux at the moment. But I mean, I personally think it's very It does sound,
Yeah.
because I don't think they say it's reversible, but a lot of other people say, well, it isn't. It's a one-shot thing, and if you mess around with a child's puberty, that's it. And there are children where that's happened, and it's made them effectively, it's damaged them well, psychologically, but also physically for the rest of their lives. So I know that's
I'm sure it has big permanent effects.
Yeah, it's another big area, isn't it? But there's this potential trial that was going on, but that's under a lot of contention at the moment, that they wanted to do a limited trial to do with that. So I'm going to try to. Also, Melanistic Marble says, I remember when I first heard of Helen Weberly, I thought, not another dodgy Welsh doctor. I was Hindmarsh Welsh too. I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, but so
a dodgy doctor maybe, but not a dodgy Welsh doctor.
Yeah, I think it just so happens, isn't it? Because there's people from so many backgrounds and types of people involved in this, and they seem to have all found each other or been brought together somehow, as though, I don't know how you see it, Richard. Is it like just terrible luck that all these people have come together on the same hymn sheet, as it were, or just not behaved in this way?
I think it's not luck. I think it is the police are attracted to. But I mean, I think we had this discussion already, but I'm not sure if it came out live or not. But I think the police are attracted to experts who are very confident, overconfident, and tell them what they want to hear, and to have lots of time to write lots of reports and charge lots and lots of money for them. Whereas like serious people in the field don't have the time to work for days and days and days on criminal cases or civil cases, for that matter. I mean, if you're a busy scientist, also doing research and also doing teaching and also caring for patients and so on, you don't have time to do this work. So the ones who do make a business out of doing this work are a special, a special tribe.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And well, with Dewey Evans, he leaves his full-time employment at, I think he's 59, just about to be 60, and then he's doing this full-time then.
Yes.
I came across some other information that he was also doing some locum work, particularly in the area of child mental health as well, subsequent to leaving the Swansea Hospital. But his main bread and butter and keeping his children in horses and cars was the medico-legal work, as I'm now supposing Dr. Yoxall's is, because apparently I believe he's retired as well, and he's also got a medico-legal practice as well. And so, but that,
well, I'm retired, and I have a little consultation firm, and I do a little bit of work on that,
But I think
supplement to my pension.
I think the point you're making, isn't it, that when somebody's just doing that, then they're not keeping up with necessarily the work, that they're probably stuck at a point behind. I'm not talking about your discipline, but obviously with Dewey Evans, as he says, there was a clip that Guy put in his brilliant film the other day where Dr. Evans is saying, well, why do I do this? Because it's there. That is like, why do you climb Mount Everest? Because it's there. He said, because it's there, and I know I can write reports. But that's not the same thing as being fully informed about recent developments, is it? Just because you can write reports and
no, but he has a facility. I mean, on the other hand, I mean, I've got involved in a number of these such cases after my retirement, and to some extent before, because they're there, because they are exciting challenges.
Yeah.
So, in some respects, I think he's saying Yeah, he has got. The way he looks at it is not suspect in itself. Of
No,
course,
it's the fact that he's got.
he loves a challenge. I love a challenge. I'm sure you love a challenge, Mark.
Not
You
really.
take a lot of challenges.
No, but
I mean, why are you
the,
doing this? This is a challenge, isn't it?
well, you're right. Actually, it is a challenge for me. Without a glass of port as well. So, but with him, you see, and with some of the others involved, they don't. They've got they over assess their abilities.
Yeah. So the problem is the ones who do it who don't really have the I don't know, intellectual capability or the knowledge or the thirst for knowledge, which is needed, because he's not. I don't think he has a thirst for knowledge. He has a thirst for making money.
Yes, exactly. That's what it comes down to, doesn't it? It's what are
Yes.
the drivers? So, I mean,
Yeah.
the driver behind yourself is obviously getting to the truth and working
Yeah.
against injustice in these cases, but also,
Yeah.
you know, it's not to buy horses, is it? And flash
No.
cars, probably.
No, I'm getting involved in the French anesthetist case at the moment.
Oh, that's interesting. Where did I
Well,
see
that
about?
was
Yes, I saw
uh,
that through Common Sense Guru's video. Yeah, the
yeah.
French anaesthetist. Yeah.
So
Gosh.
so that guy got convicted and for murdering a number of patients, and he worked in a couple of two different clinics somewhere in the south of France. I forget which beautiful town in most lovely
Yes.
part
Yeah,
of
there was
France you
quite a lot of.
can imagine.
Mm.
And I've been reading the French Wikipedia page about his case, and I also now have the prosecution case, and I also have the defense case, and it's kind of a duplicate of Lucy Letby, because, for instance, they're saying the public prosecutor is writing, yes, and then when he moved from this clinic to that clinic, the poisonings followed him. Now,
That old thing. Yeah, they followed him. Yeah.
and why did they follow him? That's because they're looking for events which can be associated with him.
Yeah, it just depends on what lens you're looking through, and I think Chris covered this really well in Lucy Letby analysis
Yeah.
recently. That when the idea that deaths followed Lucy Letby from nights to day, well, what we're talking about here is that for the first 3 months of going on to days, and there aren't any deaths there, or there are no deaths that are attributed to her,
Yeah.
and then there are the two deaths of two of the three triplets,
Yes.
which is a very specific thing. So it's all misdirection into being
misdirection, and it's being said by the consultants. It's not the consultants have seen this, and they use it to support their case that
to support the case.
Lucy Letby is a wrong un and something needs to be done about it, and they tell it to the police. So it's a myth. And you could say, well, yes, it's true, because there were a few in the night, and then she's put on days, and then there are two deaths in the daytime. But statistically, this is nothing. This is just some tiny events, tiny numbers, and they could perfectly well be chance. But the consultants who at that stage are already paranoid and believing they probably have got a Bev Allit in their unit, for them it's a sign, right? You know, they see it, and it's confirming their worst fears. And then they pass that on to the police, and the police get sucked up into the same craziness.
I'm a little bit. I don't know if I'm not saying I'm right in the way I look at it at all, but I'm a little bit more perhaps cynical about what they might be thinking, and in that they've got something they want. They've invested a lot into this story in trying to get a nurse removed, and then they want to recruit anything that they can as further information to justify what they've done.
Yes.
To the point that Yeah,
you can say, but
I don't see them as kind of.
confirmation. But this is also confirmation bias.
I can see
Suppose they-
that. I can see that, but I think there's a harder edge to it in terms of, especially once the grievance has been filed, and then certainly
Right.
once it's been
Once
won.
all those things happen,
Yeah.
and once the RCPCH report comes out, and it turns out that they're responsible for a lot of the bad things going on there, and that everybody's going to know
Exactly.
that soon.
Yeah, because they have to
Then things change dramatically. But I think before then, it is a sort of mass hysteria, initially just of Breary and slowly spreading to his colleagues. And I don't know if you've listened to the second podcast of Amanda Knox yet.
Oh, it's fantastic! I just listened to it
me
today.
too. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really brilliant. It's even better than the first one. Yeah,
and I think that very nicely, beautifully explains how the conflict is sort of, it's not the consultants against Lucy, it's the consultants against the managers.
I suppose so, but it's
right, because the managers are taking Lucy's side, and they're doing, the managers are doing sort of sensible looks at, well, I mean, they look at the evidence and there's no evidence, and then they're actually supporting Lucy through this complaints procedure. And this is when this is when it becomes a matter of life and death for the consultants, because they know they're going to be reported to the GMC for because Lucy has won her complaint against them, right?
Yes.
They know they're going to get in bad trouble because of all the criticisms which the RCPCH has made. So things are looking really bad for them. And I think Ravi Jairam, bless his heart, completely honest, said on a TV interview, we knew at that point, and this is the point we're talking at, when they went to the police, we knew at that point that it was either it was either going to be us or her who would lose their jobs.
Well, he gave it away there, then, didn't he? Quite clearly.
He said it honestly.
Really. The stakes. He gave it away. Yeah.
The stakes were high, and the consultants were in a total panic.
And that's it's that, as in terms of motivation, that should have been really a massive red flag to the police, to the investigation. But then they are then utilised as effectively investigators on the investigation itself, if not running it.
Yeah, the police probably never even get to hear about the complaint.
Oh well, that's interesting. I don't know if they.
I don't know, and I don't know if they get to know the RCPCH report.
I would have. Yeah, maybe. Sorry, I was going to say, would it not have come out in some of the interviews with Lucy Letby? That she said, "Well, I was about to come back into my job because I've just had this."
I'm sure she told them those things. Yes, I'm sure she did tell tell the police those things. I don't suppose she knew much about the contents of the RCPCH report.
Oh, well, that's another interesting question as to whether.
But remember them, and then finally we get to the trial, and Goss rules that the RCPCH report should not be shown. It should not be brought in as may not be brought in as evidence, and the facts of the complaint, the upheld complaint, may not be brought in as evidence. He said, that's just a personnel matter. That's a management, human resources matter. That's nothing. Goss had the idea, look, there are 25 charges. We're going to go through those charges one by one, and do them separately. And then we'll find out which babies she murdered and which babies she attacked and which ones she didn't. And from his point of view, there's no need to look at a big picture, no need to look at the whole unit. And this is kind of legal thinking. And I think the RCPCH did this also. There was a big miss there. The RCPCH group who investigated and wrote that report were a group of pediatricians. And they too only sort of looked at the list of deaths and said, yeah, that one's not suspicious, that one's not suspicious. And okay, they can all be explained. And there are a couple there are a couple which is difficult to understand. Okay, so we need a pathologist or a forensic. They actually recommend a forensic investigation of the cases which were not clear to them. But
Yes.
the RCPCH never asked itself the question, why was there a spike?
No, I suppose it didn't. No, it
didn't.
It?
It didn't have statisticians, a statistician. It didn't have an epidemiologist. It did not ask the question, are the babies dying because these are different babies from the babies they used to have at the unit?
Why do you suppose it was seemingly incurious as to why there was a spike?
Because they are pediatricians and they see, they're doctors of children and babies, and they are not statisticians. And there was this huge spike, and they're not inquisitive about it. It doesn't occur to them that there could be external reasons for a spike. And by the way, they have been misled, because Breary, certainly in Breary speaking to the Thirlwell inquiry, goes out of his way to sort of pretend that they were not having sicker babies than usual.
Do you think
which
it
is
was
patently untrue, and he should know it's untrue?
Do you believe it should have been incumbent upon the RCPCH to establish whether that's true or not, or
the
RCPCH?
They should have thought about that too.
They should have thought about it. Yeah,
and they should have recruited experts in relevant adjacent fields. I mean, they also could have brought in an obstetrician.
And something like, and I'm still trying
to, and the statistician. They should have done that, but they didn't occur to them, and they did what they could do, which is look at the baby's medical notes, because they're doctors, so they look at baby's medical notes, and they go through them one by one.
Do you think there was possibly some sense that they were trying to limit their criticism of their pediatric colleagues?
So. No.
They're not.
I always apply Hanlon's razor to this. Hanlon's razor says, do not attribute to maliciousness that which can be explained by incompetence or stupidity or something. I mean, it just didn't occur to them. I can imagine it didn't occur to them. There was a spike in deaths. They looked at the deaths. They seemed to be all okay, sort of thing. I mean, terrible, but explainable. And a couple were not easy to explain, but that proportion of deaths on neonatal wards are never explained either. I mean, it's normal for deaths not to be explained. Or you just write extreme prematurity on the death certificate, right?
It's quite a high percentage, isn't it, of deaths that
it's a lot. I can't remember if it's a quarter or a half or something. It will depend on the degree of prematurity. But
I remember a figure of 40% seems to spring to mind in terms of the exact cause or mechanism of death.
Yeah. Of course, it will be very different in level 1, level 2, and level 3 units, of course. So maybe it's 40% in a level 3 unit, where they are caring for the really, really difficult cases, really premature babies. There, it's probably 40%. I think if a baby is born sort of at the limits of premature, the limits of survivability, then it basically has 50-50 chance of surviving the first week. And if it survives the first week, then it has 50-50 chance of surviving to full term. It may
Yes.
still be extremely damaged and have, brain damage for life.
So the term
that 50% and 50%, well, that gives you a quarter already. No, I mean that gives you only a quarter survive to full term.
Yes, extraordinary, isn't it? We'll just see what's going on with some of the comments. So, Carl,
How do I get
Carl.
out again? Kick me out again, please.
Oh, I don't like kicking you out. I don't like it.
I won't leave this time. But let me leave the.
Oh, do you want? Okay, shall I? I'll remove you, which also sounds brutal. But
maybe I can. Oh, hold on a moment. No, I can. Yeah. Yes,
I think
please,
you can do it. You can do it yourself. I think you're able to.
Oh yeah. Okay, I press the exit button. No, but if I press the exit button, I'm no longer in reserve. But if
How do I know when you want to come back on again, though?
I'll write it in the comments because I'll be able to see the comments.
Yes, hopefully, if I spot that. Or you could just stay there. You could just stay there hanging around. Enjoy some of the snacks that are available, and have a glass of sherry.
I take a glass of delicious Merlot wine. I have.
Yes, have a glass of Merlot. Yes.
Yeah. And by the way,
very good week, that one. Yeah.
Thank you. By the way, the other Ben Myers is a novelist.
A novelist, yes. Little Unicorn was saying that.
Already told you that too.
Yes, kind of children's books for young adults. Oh, they're not the same person.
No, they're not the same person.
Well, actually, here's a funny thing. There is another Benjamin Myers, who is another type of novelist, but I believe the KC is also a writer as well.
Oh.
And he writes a different kind of book. So the other Ben Myers is another writer that I've come across, but he writes quite dark fiction for adults. So there seems to be quite a lot of them.
A lot of them are bad, yeah.
But while you're here, Richard, before you grab a handful of nuts, before you pour out the wine, mind the tablecloth. But Carl's saying here about Dr. Dimitrova's post, in which I can't remember who else said it, that Pete Malley, was it, or someone else said it, about sort of, she was suggesting that there's more to come. I don't know if you know anything more about that. Or
I don't know anything about more to come.
No, more to come, no. But there probably is more to come, isn't there?
I'm sure there is.
I'm sure there is as well. Senor says, hi, Senor says, oh, I missed Richard, but you haven't missed him because he's
You haven't
back
missed me, here I am.
You're back now. And Carl, looks like someone approached Dimitrova and she passed them on to Felicity Lawrence, and there's more to come. Because we knew quite a bit about the Hindmarsh story, but they've added a few things in.
Yeah, I think it's the same
so,
one. Yeah.
And Jenny's here now, saying transitioning kids was a big money maker for pharmaceutical companies. I bet he was working with a big pharmaceutical company. That's in respect of Hindmarsh. Mervyn says, no, it's not luck. That was to do with what we were saying earlier about, why is this conglomeration of people coming on all together, as it were, to kind of make this thing happen and not demurring from the direction they're going. Jenny says, Yoxall on his retirement started his own medico-legal stuff. Yeah, and he started with a bang by supporting Cheshire Police in this matter, which is not a good start, is it? If indeed it was his first foray into it, I don't know if it was, but if it's his very first, then he's not chosen well, then, has he? But yeah, what I was saying earlier, I'm just hoping to get explicit confirmation that Honorary Professor Dr. Paul Clark is the Paul Clark who received the payments from Cheshire Police in 2025. Hopefully they'll let us know. PGNE4BT, that name just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It's like Eddie or something. Says, just so everyone's clear on the timeline, June 2022, Dr. Hindmarsh gets fired from Britain's most prestigious children's hospital. That's what's it called? Great Ormond Street, isn't it? October 2022, Lucy Letby's trial starts. November 2022, the general medical, there must be more to that comment. Open an investigation into Hindmarsh. December 2022, he finally tells the police, that prosecutors, that he's being investigated. 3 months after they learned about it, 3 months after they learn about it, he tells them, he knows about it, and he tells the police 3 months later. And then they tell the defence that the lead insulin expert's being investigated. Yeah, there's all these lags, isn't there? And that's some of the really important detail that's come out in the Felicity Lawrence, David Conn article today. Pete Malley said, did someone say a glass of white wine is required? Only if you've got a syringe to suck it up with. But that's de rigueur, as they say. More like a bottle, yes. Mervyn says it's great. I'm not sure what that... Oh, yeah, that must be to do with Amanda Knox's latest, which is brilliant. I think it was co-written by Clusi de Oliveira, I believe. I read that on
yes,
on Twitter. Mervyn says, I don't like Knox, but her podcast is amazeballs. Melanistic Marble says, oh, good, I'll listen to that later. Yeah, it's a fantastic one, Melanistic Marble. Next Realm, hi, I hope I haven't missed much. Just finished work. Hi, Next Realm. Good to see you. Hope work has gone well. Mervyn says, Lucy Letby wouldn't have seen the RCPCH report. Would it have been supplied to her defence, though, and would she have seen it prior to the trial, though? Even though it's not allowed in the trial, would she have had access to it as part of the trial defence bundle? I would assume she would have done, wouldn't she? Or would she not? Irrespective of whether it's you. What do you think, Richard? Whether they used it in the trial or not? It doesn't mean that...
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know that, do we?
No.
Sword of Reason, RCPCH report. Michelle Warden asked Cheshire Police if detectives had read the report, but the police officer, I think that means that they didn't think he didn't think they had. Some, I assume, were aware of it or had it. But it's kind of would probably go all over their heads, wouldn't it? I don't think they were interested in anything which moved away from their tunnel vision view. It would be not of great interest to them, even if they would have been able to assimilate it, I don't think. Do you, Richard?
I agree. I think a lot of it would go over their heads, and that they just wouldn't find it interesting.
It's just moving away from the story that they want to build and present. It's potentially exculpatory, or is exculpatory, and they're just not interested in that, I don't think, personally. Lynn says the consultants probably knew Lucy's parents had been to the police about her being bullied. I'm still not 100% sure this thing about whether Mr. Letby went in March 2017, July 2017, or potentially both. And Operation Merlin Falcon has also thought that perhaps he went twice, because there's this disparity now in the dates from the Times article, which says that Mr. Letby went in March 2017, 2 months before Jayaram and Breary. But then there was another statement that Mervyn gave to me on Twitter, which is saying that they went in July, but it's not necessarily saying that they didn't go in March. But I don't know. Yeah, I've asked the police about the March visit and see if they'll say anything. Fingers crossed. I'm not sure what that's a response to. These people like the power and control of people's outcomes in their hands. Evans acts like a wannabe High Court judge with all the unwanted legal nonsense he spouts. Yeah, he's just, somehow he's just got in a position that he should never have ever been in, ever, I think. I don't like Knox either. I want to say that I really do, and I'm really incredibly, I'm not trying to, it's just my point of view, but I'm really glad that Amanda Knox is involved in this, and I think it can and is being really helpful, because, but But I suppose both things, people might not like a particular personality, but they could also, as I think Mervyn was earlier, to say that they can see it's really helpful. They don't, but they don't have to like a personality. It's like yeah, you know what I mean. I guess, but I'm really glad that she is personally. But I know nobody's saying that they're not glad, but it's just whether you like someone or not. David Dickinson, Goss refused to allow Hindmarsh's history to be known in the court, including the defence. Well, it was something that was actually ongoing at the time, wasn't it? That was how severe it was. He was under investigation at the time, and Prosecutor Johnson said, well, I'm going to combat any attempt to remove him by saying that the GMC inquiry is ongoing, it hasn't completed, so his status shouldn't be seen as deficit, as being in deficit, you know, because they hadn't reported on it. Oh, I think I've caught up. I think I've caught up with comments. I never thought it was. So I hope I've not missed anybody. But I read some other notes. So, Richard, can I ask, are you still there? Are you still there? Oh, I don't think Richard's there anymore. Richard's, oh, he's joining on a different computer. Does that mean, do I have to remove Richard now then? Well, I'll remove you now in case there's another, otherwise there'll be two Richards. And I won't know which one I'm talking to. So I'm going to remove Richard now, not in a bad way. And how do I do this now? Oh no, I've done it, haven't I? Let me put the link on again. I'm easily panicked. I'm easily panicked. Joining on a different computer. Yelda says, Knox, I think that is, oh, I'm going to, oh, it says device is not connected, Richard. I can't add you yet because the devices are not connected. You have to connect your microphone and or cam before you can be added. That's why I don't think we should connect her to Lucy's case. Has been proven innocent. Do you mean that you think she's not been proven innocent? I think she has. She has been exonerated. Oh well, I think the thing that with Yelda, you're not. It's not that you're proven innocent. You're found. When you're exonerated, you're no longer guilty. So therefore, you're assumed to be innocent, isn't it? I know that was the Italian system. I assume it's the same, but you don't have to prove innocence. It's that guilt has been overturned. So therefore, you are what you were before, which is you remain presumed innocent, which is your status prior, you know. Oh, Richard, yeah, there you are. The paint. I love the paintings as well. Yes.
Right.
So yeah. Here we are again. It's been ages. So there we are. Caspar, pleased we have Richard. There we are.
But no, I see twice of me. I have to remove.
Can you see two of you?
I see two of me. Oh, they are the same. That's okay.
Is that all right? Yeah, you're coming through beautifully clear, and the screen's lovely. And those paintings, I think you've mentioned them before. Are they done by your daughter?
By my daughter.
Yeah, fantastic, marvelous.
They were paintings made when she was a teenager. Now she's a professional artist. So the bit odd one behind my head was a painting of, I think, 3 Brazilian mine workers in the newspaper. Sorry, it was a photograph of fighting
yes.
Brazilian mine workers, and they look sort of threatening and strange.
Very well built and tough looking chaps.
Tough looking chaps. Yeah.
Were they
Knox? I used not. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, please. Sorry, beg your pardon.
Because Knox did commit a crime, namely of libel slander against her boss, Patrick Lapumba. Yes. Okay, Lucy de Bear committed a crime, namely she took some hospital syringes home and medications, and that crime still stands too. Somebody said that she hasn't been proven innocent. I have studied the Knox case in great depth, but actually long time ago now.
Yes,
And
it's a
I
while ago
really
now.
think she is very, very likely innocent. And it
I
is
do
absolutely
do
clear
as
that the
well.
police utterly bungled their investigation into that case. So
There's a
for
new.
me, she's not. It's more. She's sort of better than not proven guilty.
If you have a guilty conviction overturned, then you're innocent, aren't you? In the law, I mean,
Well,
there's.
okay, legally, but I'm not interested actually in the legal situation. I'm interested in the truth, right? And
Oh, I am too.
I have studied the case in very great depth, and I've studied the DNA evidence, and I've studied what the police investigation, how it proceeded, and I think there's no reason to believe there's really nothing against her.
I never found it believable, the idea that the prosecutor got into his mind that there was some kind of 3-way or 4-way sex game or some kind of ritual
There are a lot
going
of
on. It
fantasies there. I
seemed
mean, that's similar
fantastical.
fantasies as in the case which interests us today.
There's a documentary that Amanda Knox and her husband has done recently. It's coming out this year. I put a trailer for it on Posts, and it's Amanda Knox going back to Italy to have a meeting with the prosecutor. Is it Magnani? I can't remember his name exactly. But she meets him in that. I watched a talk about that on another channel, which is I've forgotten the name of the channel now, but it was just that they were discussing the documentary that's come out. So yeah, it was a kind of a very difficult, obviously a very difficult meeting for Amanda Knox to go and meet this man who was determined to convict her for all those years, and so that's coming out. I don't know if it's on Netflix or something. Yeah, that was. I think the police put her under so much pressure, and she was very young, wasn't she? Incredibly young, and she was in another. She knew some Italian, but by no means not that much. And she was put under extraordinary pressure, I think, and she said some unfortunate things under that. It's about the context again, about how these things happen. It doesn't mean it's right, and it was awful what happened to. Because I think he lost his business, Patrick Lumumba. So he's another victim in that sense, but it's nothing like being guilty of a murder, is it? I mean, it's. David Dickinson said, when I was subject to NMC fitness to practice investigation, employers required to know. So why not Hindmarsh the court? Yeah. Why didn't they know in the court? Why wasn't the jury told about it? Well, the argument that apparently the prosecution were using was that it was an investigation that was ongoing. But you're saying here that you had an investigation ongoing and you had to let people know. Didn't have to wait for the end of it, as it were. But the prosecution obviously got their way in this case. Hi, Liz. Liz is there as well. Hi, Mark, Richard, and all. Hi, Liz. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Dan. Everyone's come. God, we've got 61 people now. Hi, Dan. She didn't ask you to like her. That's true. And I think this second episode is even better than the first one, which is very good. And yeah, it's there's going to be more coming up, isn't there? As we go forward. I wonder if, we don't know about this, but I wonder if, when Lucy Letby is exonerated, whether if she does do an interview, I wonder whether doing one with Amanda Knox would be sort of a safe harbour, as it were, to do it in, as both people, well, in my view anyway, that were suffered miscarriages of justice. Perhaps she would. So David Dickens says, Man U not prosecuted for winning the league. Sorry, Arsenal. Oh, right. Man U not prosecuted for winning the league. Sorry, Arsenal. I'm not really, I don't know. Oh yeah, Mouth of the Wolf. That's it. Thanks, Mervyn. Have you seen the whole documentary or just the trailer? Because I think Yelda says, Mervyn, there's a website called TMJK. It's brilliant. I don't know what that's in relation to. Is that anyway? Pete, Sue the Science. Welcome to hello. Sue the Science says the insulin test used ignores most analogues. It can't be wrong. Oh, sorry. As the insulin test, that's the immunoassay used. Sorry, I'm getting this wrong. Sue the Science says as the insulin test used, comma, ignores most analogues. It can't be wrong. And I'm sure Sue the Science hasn't got a functioning brain, or she simply likes lying about sciencey stuff. What do you make of this, Richard? Anything? Old Sue the Science? Can you hear us? I'm not sure if Richard can hear us anymore.
Yes, I'm following that too.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm hearing everything twice, if not 3 or 4 times. So
I think I know why. I think if you go to the YouTube, I think you need to. If you need to shut down the volume of the YouTube when it's coming through. If you shut down that volume, you should just hear it through the stream.
Okay, now I can't hear anything.
We can hear you.
Right.
Yeah, you get that double thing when you've got your YouTube coming out as well. Is that better
now?
Is it better for you? Hello?
I still hear the double thing. I think it's the remnant of when I was sort of on twice.
Maybe because you've got this 2 computer things. Shall I?
Well, I mean, I've only got one now. I really switched the other one off.
Richard, shall I remove you and then come back in and see if that helps it?
Okay, good idea.
I'll try that now, and then you can try coming back in. And now I'm gonna add Richard to the state. How's that now? Any better?
Yeah.
Oh, you've gone completely now. Oh, Richard says Sue and Cindy don't know what they're talking about. Well, I think Cindy probably does if we knew what Cindy was saying, but Cindy just wants to get out of there, I think, and be adopted probably. But maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know what Cindy's saying. We don't know what Cindy really thinks, do we? I'll put the link again to anybody else who wants to come on. And hopefully Richard will be back as well. Richard Gill has entered the studio. It's like Elvis is in the building. Add to stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it working now?
I still hear second one. Oh, now there are 2.
Have you got hi Mervyn? Welcome to the screen.
All right.
You're right. You're right. You're
Yes.
here. You're here.
Good day.
Good day. There's the sun time, mate.
Good day, mate.
Your mum's upset.
Your mum's upset. Look what you've done now. So yeah, where were we? I'll try and keep up.
We were talking about Sue with the PhD.
Sue and Cindy. I think it's all looking good overall.
With a PhD in waterproofing materials or something like that. I mean,
I've been trying to get Deb Roberts to come on my show, but she won't come on.
She won't come on, no.
No. But I'm just interested. I'm just fascinated by the guilters who actually know about the case, because I can understand a lot of the guilters. I can understand it's just simply because they're misinformed, and they don't, they only know what they've part of the story. I can understand that, but it's this other group that I'm absolutely fascinated by.
Yeah,
The ones that have read the Thirlwall, but just they read completely different things to me. I don't, they'll read the same paragraph and just see something else.
well, do you think it could be almost like a replication of what was done in the investigation, and that anything they just can't see and won't see anything that moves away from what they've invested themselves into, perhaps?
Well, certainly it's partly that, yeah.
I'm just
and they're so invested. They're so invested in the position they have got. They cannot leave it, and they just keep coming up with explanations for everything.
Is this a sort of an ego thing, that in the sense that their egos are involved, in the sense that they find it almost like wounding to themselves if they were wrong in some way?
Kind of.
Sure, but I think it's not just that. It's I'm afraid I think it's a low intelligence thing. I'm sorry. I don't know. I do really stupid things many times and show a lot of low intelligence many times. But I think a lot of these people are not very intelligent.
Well, I'm kind of fascinated with this witch burning mentality. And it didn't just happen in the UK. The Salem witch trials in the US, I think they did witch burning in Germany. Yeah. I actually think there is something psychological in people that just sort of it's innate in some people, almost sort of primordial, reverting back to. I can't see it myself, but how people get hung. Still, no matter how advanced we think we are, we still got to eat and drink and go to the toilet. And nothing about our bodies and human evolution changes so slowly. So, I mean, how long ago was it that we had these witch burning trials? It was a maximum like 400 years ago. In evolutionary terms, nothing has changed since then, no matter how sophisticated we think we are. And I think there is some kind of desire going on in these people.
Yes,
that's also. That we're group animals. We live in herds or little tribes, and the sort of the future of the tribe is in the babies and the children. And if something goes wrong with the children, then the women start screaming and pushing the men to do something about it, and there's a mass hysteria. And it seems to be, it has got, because many of these guilters are women.
Yeah.
And they just know. And women, of course, have their female instincts, which men don't have. And if their female instincts tells them that some other person has been killing babies, that's it. They just know. And that's why I say, I think part of the problem is they don't have enough intelligence to kind of step back from that for a little while and to try to look at things in a detached way. They cannot detach themselves from their emotions. Now, men are very good at detaching themselves from their emotions. That's why we can go out and kill people. Shoot them with our guns and so on.
But in light of what you're both talking about here as well, and in the chat, is that there's a writer, I think she's a poet mainly, who's done a Substack, and it's really been taken up on Twitter to do with this. She's about the Lucy Letby case, and she's talking about she's talking about Judith. I can't remember her name, and I did know her name, but Judith Moritz.
Yeah.
Moritz.
Yeah.
She's talking about Judith Moritz coming out with this sort of state of glee and this kind of barely
Philomena Kunk.
Yeah, like a Philomena Kunk. Yeah.
Yeah, I read that.
That's kind of going a little bit into what I think you're saying in some way about there's a kind of a weird distorted pleasure principle about seeing other people suffer. Actually,
I don't think that was sort of, that wasn't simple pleasure.
No,
that
it's not
exhilaration.
Simple.
It was exhilaration, and she had been sitting in the trial every day, right, and reporting it for the BBC. So she had already made up her mind. She was already convinced. She was already convinced that Lucy Letby was an evil killer. So when that is confirmed by the jury, she's enormously excited.
It's like a release.
It's a release and gratified. She's proud and exhilarated. And I think she felt, just like I felt, the day when I came out of the trial where Lucia de Beck was exonerated.
Yes.
You know, I was exhilarated.
It's a kind
if
of
anybody had interviewed me, I'd have talked just like Judith Moritz. Yes, they found her innocent. They even said, you know, people die in hospital without saying in advance when it's going to be.
Yes. Well,
I would have been just like Judith. I understand Judith Moritz. And
but
she
it's
just was
the other side of the fence, yeah.
Well, yeah, but she was completely invested already by then in the belief that Lucy, sorry, I mix these ladies up, Lucy was guilty. She already knew, with her female intuition, presumably also, that Lucy Letby was guilty. So she was vindicated, and she was exhilarated.
I mean, the qualitative difference. The qualitative difference here between Judith and yourself is that you went into the absolute likelihoods. You looked into the statistics of the case, the details, whereas the exhilaration from Judith Moritz has come from believing and being saturated by a fiction, by how a fiction is being presented.
Yeah, we now know it was a fiction. Yeah. How could she know it wasn't a fiction?
How could she know it wasn't a fiction when she's in there? Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, lots of jurors were convinced too.
Yes, well, that's true. Particularly if you've got a defence that isn't presenting any expert witnesses directly.
And there's a big problem with there's a problem with British jury trials, which is. The jury are not supposed to think deeply about the complicated science stuff. They don't get to see the reports which have been written by scientists. They don't read that stuff. They are supposed to judge on the basis of their, it's said sort of common sense, but basically on their human ability to judge whether people are reliable or not. Right, so basically the jury is there to determine by gut feeling whether the person who's being tried is evil and should be thrown out of humanity, or is a good person just like them. They've got to feel that, and they end up, many of them, feeling that. One way or the other.
Are you talking about what happens in reality as opposed to what they're...
I'm talking about what
normally
happens...
supposed to do, which is look at the evidence, isn't it? They're meant to look at
No, they're not supposed to look at the evidence. They're told about the evidence. The evidence is explained to them. They have to... For much of the evidence, of course, is sort of technical, scientific, medical, right? And they have to trust some of the medical experts. They have to trust experts. They have to feel whether experts are reliable or not. Right?
Yes, but how are they meant to come to that assessment as to reliability?
Well, they're supposed to use they're supposed to. How are they supposed? Well, of course, if they see obvious errors in reasoning or something, then they will not be so convinced. But they're not there to sort of reason. I mean, they're told there are all these deaths. Nobody ever explained the spike in deaths. Remember that? Nobody explained the spike in deaths. There was this huge spike of deaths. They saw the spreadsheet. Lucy was always there when the bad things happen. Yeah. Right? And then they heard all these professional experts saying, talking lots of technical stuff which they didn't understand, but being authoritative and wise and knowing this, that, or the other. The whole point of the, yeah?
I was going to say, sorry, I used to be really mad at the jury, for giving the wrong verdict, but now I'm back to the stage of it just should never have got to court in the first place. I'm angry with the CPS.
Yes, it shouldn't have got to court in the first place, and of course the defence should have had much more resources to really look for really good experts in other countries, because as Mark MacDonald often says, if for medical cases you have to get experts from abroad, because nobody in the NHS is going to stand up and defend a baby killer.
Well, in the Netflix documentary, Letby's anonymous friend said, when it came to producing medical experts, she posited that, maybe the defence just didn't call anyone simply because they felt there was no need to. And I can sort of sympathise with that, because when I was listening, I was following the trial through Liz and Caroline, but when I was listening to it, I just thought, these are all theories. I haven't actually heard any evidence, and I kind of got the idea of why bother defending it? There's nothing to defend, if you know what I mean.
I agree. That's very reasonable, but they were still hobbled by Goss's decisions as well.
Yeah, I didn't like the judge. I didn't like what the judge said at all.
No,
there were at least three things. He didn't allow the RCPCH report to be brought in as evidence. He didn't allow the complaint procedure to be talked about. He insisted that the prosecution go through all 25 or 24 indictments one by one with their experts, in order to save the time of the expensive experts which the prosecution had lined up, so that it went all the way through A through Q, and only then was the defence allowed to start calling experts for A through Q.
That's
right. I mean, that totally destroys. There was no point anymore of them calling any experts. Now, of course, they made the defence really missed finding a decent insulin expert, and they could easily have got a decent insulin expert. At some point, when I knew that insulin was going on in this case, I Googled about insulin, and I already knew about Ben Dean and Colin Norris and so on. So I already know it's a big thing in England, nurses killing babies with insulin. You Google, you find that Vincent Marks is the top world expert in this field. I found out he was still alive. I found his email address. I emailed him, started a conversation. We had a telephone call, and he said a lot of very sensible things, which I now have also found in these books. and articles, and he said, Richard, you should speak to Alan Wayne Jones. Vincent Marks kind of saw Alan Wayne Jones as his successor, as being the only, and being now, because he died 2 weeks later, as being presently the only expert of his level in the world. Now, the defence could have done a tiny bit of research and come up with the idea of asking Vincent Marks for his opinion, and they would have heard about Alan Wayne Jones. Now Alan Wayne Jones is on Mark MacDonald's team, but I mean, it's a bit late.
Yes. Do you think that responsibility should have fallen to Professor Hall, or should it have been the defence per se should have done that and taken that away from Dr. Hall, because what we understand is that he defers to the prosecution experts with regard to the so-called
so that was certainly a mistake or a weakness of Hall. It didn't occur to him to think of somebody like Vincent Marks and so on. He just didn't know anything about insulin poisoning, and he didn't help them with insulin poisoning. And if anybody could have advised those lawyers, it should have been him, of course, since he was the medical expert they were talking to.
Yes. I mean, he needn't have taken the position to defer to the other people. He could have taken a kind of a non-committal
I don't think
position.
I think his position was non-committal. I mean, he deferred to their expertise.
Well, isn't that taking a position? In other words, it's saying I'm not going to. Is it concede? What is that position? Is it conceding?
Well, the position is he's not going to dispute what Hindmarsh, Wark, and Milan said about insulin. He can't dispute that because he doesn't know anything about it, so he doesn't dispute it. If he had done some research himself, he could have come up with a suggestion to the defence to get another expert on the insulin. And
yes, that's one of the gaps.
The defence could have realised that the insulin was going to be the smoking gun, the game changer, one way or the other, right? I mean, the CPS only decided to prosecute once they had the insulin. Right, now we've got 2 murders. Well, murder attempts, okay. Who cares?
Yeah, it wasn't a game changer for me. The babies didn't die, so.
No, they didn't die, but they had been attacked. All right, according to the communist opinion of many medical experts who are not experts in that field.
Yes, it's extraordinary, isn't it? They do, those 2 so-called cases, pull all the other ones along.
They did, and I think it's sort of reasonable that they did. If you were the jury and you know that 2 babies have been poisoned with insulin, and you see all this bad stuff heaped up on Letby, and you've been taught that she lies and so on and so forth, and she looks a bit odd in standing there in the stand looking dejected, and meek. And then people think, well, that's not how I would behave if I was being, I would be shouting and screaming and knocking tables over. So that's how people think. And that the jury is there to say what they're, to decide on the basis of their feelings, their inner feelings.
And that's a problem, isn't it? Because the feelings would be that if she had have been very demonstrative, well, that would be all. Look at the temper she's got there. You can see where all the anger and the aggression
that could have been used
to that. Yeah,
well, it could have been used against her either way. It would have been used against her either way.
It would have been. She's absolutely doomed once it's got to court, because there are no other suspects. So the burden on the defence is multifold. They have to actually show or demonstrate to the jury that there were no crimes at all. So the police have been wasting their time for 5 years.
Yeah,
and there are no crimes at all, and that's a huge.
Most jurors are going to start thinking, well, since since they're prosecuting her, there must be something.
That's
right?
what they think. Yeah, that's why it's.
And there are 25 indictments. No smoke without fire. She probably did a few of them. A lot of people are not going to use their brains much on that. Okay,
they're
and then
not.
you get and nobody has explained the spike. There was everybody agrees. Defense and prosecution agrees that there was a spike in deaths, and nobody has got an explanation for it.
Yeah, I think chance played a lot in the jury's mind. You know, people.
Well, yeah,
I always thought people don't understand statistics, and I knew it was all about statistics, and especially when you hear the prosecution's closing statement. What are the chances? What are the chances? What are the chances? It was all about. It was all about massaging stats.
Yes.
Yes,
well,
yes.
I find the spike a very interesting thing because it's a statistical thing. Now, my friend John O'Quigley, he says there was no spike. And he's looking at it as a statistician, and he's done the correct statistical test. And if you compare that the what's like from June to June, if you compare it statistically with the numbers of deaths before and after. No, sorry, before, not after. We can't compare with after because everything's changed after. But you compare with the number of deaths you'd had in the previous few years. It's not statistically significant. It's you know, it's not big enough to write a scientific paper about it, even in a field like psychology or something. It's not quite significant at the 5% level. So it's unlikely. But it could happen by chance 1 in 20 times, more or less. So it's probably nothing to write home about. But the thing is, the nurses experienced the spike. They experienced that the neonatal unit was intensive care part of it was much more full of seriously ill babies than had been normal.
Yes,
and the doctors
and multiples, yeah,
and there were all these very difficult cases, these extraordinary, unusual cases, which apparently the consultants didn't even realize how extraordinary and rare they were.
You know
because they're only pediatricians. They're not fetal medicine specialists or neonatologists.
Going back to the Knox podcast, I listened to the number two today, episode 2. It's brilliant, and it was the first time I've sort of heard on any sort of mainstream where they're talking about the case where she actually gets the figures right when she says, you know, by this point there had been I think it was 8 deaths, and Letby was there for 7 of them. Everything else we'd heard is Letby was always, you know, she's always there. She was there for these. She was there for all the deaths. Everyone else has said that, and then finally, Knox's podcast. By the way, the production value in it is outstanding, absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's going to be a real hit in America.
There is another thing there, though, however, which is if you look at all the deaths on the neonatal unit, there were actually 13. Yeah, there were 13 deaths.
Yeah,
and Lucy was actually present. At
10.
12 of them. Which is statistically, I am afraid to say, somewhat surprising. But I haven't got an explanation for it. Let me tell you, I think it's interesting and important. So, I'm not sure if there were 13 or 12 deaths, but Lucy...
she was there for a lot, yeah.
Well, all but one. She was there all but one.
Are you going by the chart that was in the Thirlwall inquiry? Because...
I'm going by the latest information which I have from...
Because that chart showed on shift and also the shift before. But if you were only counting on shift,
I'm not going by that one.
okay.
I'm not going by that one. I think not. I think she was there actually rather often when a baby died, and I think there's a very simple explanation. She did extra shifts when the unit was especially full and they needed extra nurses, and that's when babies died. That's when you have twins and triplets there. So if you because remember, she's only actually supposed to have killed 7, and we now believe she killed, and we believe she killed none at all. But it is at first instance surprising that she's there. Is in the hospital so often when a baby on the NICU dies, and I think it's completely expected because of the kinds of shifts she worked. And it's actually just like Daniela Poggiali in Italy. She has many, many, many more deaths on her shifts than you'd expect. It's statistically extraordinarily significant.
Yeah, a lot of the
but there is a simple explanation for
it. Sorry, go ahead, Mervyn. You were going to say.
I was just going to say a lot of people who are defending Letby often will say, "Oh, she wasn't there for any more than anyone else." She was. I mean, she was. It doesn't mean it. It doesn't mean anything. But she actually was, and the first person to notice who was on shift the most was probably her. I mean, she noticed it when she was texting her friends. She said, "Oh, it's always why me?"
Yeah, she like Lucia de Berg, just like Lucia de Berg. Why is it always me?
Just the way it's come up tonight, it just made me think of it in a slightly different way. That you could you not say this, that she was as likely to be there when a death happened that ends up on the indictment as she was as likely to be there when a death happened that didn't reach the indictment. So they kind of cancel each other out in a way. So it's not about her being, and deaths that end up on the indictment happen afterwards. You don't know that's going to happen at the time, but she's just there for deaths, and it just happens to be the case. It just happens to be the case.
Yeah,
and she's just as likely to be there for a death that is not thought of as suspicious as well.
The point is that being there at when a death happens doesn't mean anything, because usually deaths are preceded by some period of decline. And the thing is, the unit didn't have enough highly skilled, highly top doctors to be observing those babies closely enough to notice the things which were going wrong, so that the collapses and deaths were unexpected when they happened, because nobody with medical knowledge, with enough medical knowledge, was looking at those babies closely enough. The consultants should have been doing 2 rounds a day, and one of them at least should have been a neonatologist. Remember, none of them were neonatologists.
That's right.
It was Breary's hobby.
Breary's hobby. Is it possible to say this? Is this a legitimate thing to say, that you could, moving Evans out of the way now, moving his theories out the way, just thinking of 13 deaths across this period of time, that you could have chosen any number of individual doctors or nurses, junior doctors, whom you might find was there for 6, 7 deaths out of that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sure.
You could find that, couldn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
So potentially you could find a different killer somewhere else for a different set of deaths, which are then afterwards designated as suspicious.
Yeah, the proper investigation should have gone through all the medical notes of all the babies who were there during the entire period of interest, and it's sort of a pity that the unit was downgraded in July 2016, because otherwise you could have followed it a bit longer into the future as well. But you should have, they should have gone through everything, and they should have had a criterion written down of what we will call an unexpected event, an unexpected collapse, a serious adverse event, right? There should be a definition of serious adverse event, and it should be possible to check that whether or not it happens on any to any baby on any shift, without knowing which doctors, nurses, cleaning ladies, coffee ladies, or gentlemen, for that matter, mechanics, the plumber, etc., without knowing who's there. You have to be able to say, I'm going to call this a serious adverse event, and now we're going to look for all the serious adverse events, and then you can start looking at correlations with people's presence. It's certainly a way to find out if somebody seems to be associated with too many events, and that's a clue, of course, and then you look deeper. But this was not done.
I'm wondering about when as soon as you start looking at staff rotas, the question, implicit question, is who might be responsible for this, as opposed to what has happened here in terms of a medical situation. So as soon as you shift that focus into staff rotas, you're in a different world altogether about who's done this, really. And that's once they moved into that, they never move out of it.
Yeah. So, indeed. I mean, the first thing to do is to look to see if you can find evidence of criminal activity, full stop.
Yeah. Yes. Well,
before looking at associations with people.
Well, if indeed that would have happened, well, there's no evidence of that. Then, is there? There's literally no evidence of that.
There's literally no evidence.
There's nothing.
Indeed. If the proper thing had been done, the thing which is recommended in all, in all the books and all the manuals and the there's an agency of for the police which helps police find experts, and it has a rule book for investigations in the medical context.
Yes,
and it says you get a multidisciplinary team together.
That's right. Had they done that?
You first determine whether or not there seem to have been, whether there have likely been criminal activities happening, and this never happened. They were hunting for Lucy right from the start, and I mean the police even asked Evans, I understand, if they should get some more experts of different kinds, and Dowie Evans said, no, I can do it on my own. No, you don't need anybody else.
And that's abysmal, isn't it? Because it
shouldn't
have been them asking him what should happen. It should have been them orchestrating or administrating.
Even also Breary said before the police came in, there should be a multidisciplinary external investigation of whether anything criminal has been done. And he explicitly said that before they went to the police.
And this is where I become very cynical, because he's saying that, but this is where I become cynical about him. He's saying that all the way up to that point, but once Evans starts delivering, he doesn't seem to find that of any importance anymore. He's not calling out about it.
No. I agree.
He's going, well, okay, that's them. Then it's a kind of absolving of responsibility to
the responsibility
situation as a whole, isn't it?
Yeah, his job is safe for the time being.
Well, it's almost as though I don't have to deal with this anymore. It's up to them. Whatever they decide, it won't be on me anymore.
Yes,
it won't be on us, like the gang of. It's I wrote some other notes down about things. I mentioned Dr. Nick Burse. I don't know if you had gone out, Richard.
Yeah, I saw him.
Mass spectrometry. He's been talking about that, hasn't he, on Twitter?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yes, Dr. Ellen Storm. I watched her video a couple of times, and she is wanting to start what she is calling a dialectical society to go into each individual case. She did a very fascinating, in-depth look at baby A the other week, a number of days ago, and she wants to do that for all the cases. So that's another interesting development that's happening.
And there's is it Rosie and something? There are a few people on Twitter.
Rosie and Frank, isn't it? Yeah,
Rosie and Frank she's very, very, very good, and she is going into such depth into A and B and C and D and so on. And it's so splendid what she's doing. Anyway, I signed up to the
of the Dialectical Society.
The Dialectical Society.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, because it's an interesting way.
I mean, they may have some statistical questions.
No, it sounds very. Did you come across that, Mervyn, as well? Dr. Storm's video about that.
Yeah, I did. I mean, but isn't she a bit late to the party? I mean, haven't they already done that with Shu Leib's panel?
Well, there was some commentary on the video in that kind of line of thinking that, are you trying to do something in not so much in opposition, but what's the use of this now?
Well, the proof is what Frank and Rosie are doing. I mean, they are finding new stuff.
Yeah,
they are finding new stuff all the time.
Sorry, I haven't seen this Frank and Rosie.
Yeah, that's a Twitter handle of. Is that the lady that's an archaeologist?
Yes, she's an archaeologist.
She's an archaeologist, yeah.
And she's very good at sifting.
And what did she dig up?
She dug up, yeah.
What did she dig up? Yes, lots of really fascinating stuff.
No, they are. Yeah, they are.
For instance, A and B are twins, right? But which one is which?
Oh, baby B was born first or something, and they got it wrong. I knew they had it reversed.
There's a switch.
And there are more things in there which she says looks like Breary has removed stuff from the story. There are things which actually happened in a different order, and Breary has managed that the court hears things in the order which suits his story. So slightly, A and B are very, very important because they were the kickoff, So it starts with A and B and it ends with O, P, and R.
Well, today there was a couple more Thirlwall documents released. There's only like 2 documents, but they were actually about the child Q. And child Q there was no verdict on, and there was a little statement from the parents, and the parents said basically that we had no idea that the baby collapsed until the police told us about this investigation. And I'm just wondering, how severe was this so-called collapse then, if the parents weren't even told about it? Have they just gone and looked at some charts and went, oh, that's a little bit low, dipped a little bit below the average, let's throw that one in? I'd like to know how severe the collapse was for child Q to make it into this case.
Was it? Right, this was
that was a twin. That was one of the triplets. That was the survival of the triplets.
Yes.
Oh, was it?
Well, wasn't there? There's a third survivor of the triplet because there were.
There's P. So who are the
triplets? O, P, and Q. So O, the monochlorionic triplets.
Monochlorionic triplets, yeah.
So O, P, and Q. O and P died and then Q survived, and there was no verdict on child Q.
Do you think they did it just again in a cynical way to say, well, here's a pattern that we can describe to you. This is Lucy Letby going for the most vulnerable children, particularly twins and triplets, and it just aligns with that narrative, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, he said the baby had a lot of problems. I'm just looking at what the international expert panel said about him. He was only 2 kilos, that's 4 pounds. He was blue, gasping, and poor tone and heart rate, blah 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 blah.
Oh, I didn't know the expert panel even looked at child Q because there was no verdict reached. No. I didn't think
they looked at all 17.
Oh, okay.
There are 2. So on the internet you can find a document of about 7 babies, but there's a second document on internet with brief summaries of all the other indictment babies.
Oh, yeah.
And and most of these documents are filled with profiles of the distinguished experts who are in the panel, which takes up more than half of 2 documents. And I've cut them out, and I've put the babies together, and I've put them into the right order. And I need to post this on somewhere because it's very, very useful to have a summary of all 17 babies as seen by the expert panel. Yeah, so that's a task I have to do.
Oh, that's. I've not seen that either. I've not seen the full 17 from the panel. No.
Yeah, I mean, they're short summaries, right? They're nearly all just 1 page. One of the babies is 1.5 page. They're just. So baby 17 had an awful lot of problems. It was alleged that baby 17 was given an injection of air through the neogastric? Something, nasal gastric tube. Yeah, nasal gastric tube, causing distension of the abdomen, splinting of the diaphragm, and collapse because air was aspirated from the NG tube during resuscitation, and he vomited. And he had NEC, necrotizing, and sepsis. I don't see anything about collapses here.
But there was no verdict for that. They couldn't reach.
Right.
I've been neglected. Sorry.
I guess there's basically that it must have been that there was no evidence whatsoever that Lucy did anything whatsoever. But Dr. Evans from Wales, he came up with air in a neogastric tube.
Yes,
they couldn't associate it sufficiently with Lucy. And of course she was there a few times while he was in the unit, because O and P were there as well. And
this idea about... Sorry, Richard.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, sorry, that this, what Pete Maley is saying here, 18 deaths, charged with 7. No evidence she was present for 12. So now the idea of presence is just, that's not saying anything about proximity or opportunity at all. It's just the fact that you're working that day. That's all it's saying, isn't it? It's not saying you could be in a different room, you might not have had any direct contact at all or opportunity at all. But
it means you've clocked in out of the
presence,
Yes, presence does not mean cotside.
No.
And I recall, I think there are like 3 little rooms with babies in cots. And one of them is for the most, or 3 or 4, and they're small and very cramped, and one of them has got the most severely ill babies.
That's one, isn't it?
Lucy can be working somewhere there, but not actually. And of course, when she's working, she is allocated to some babies, to 1 or 2 babies.
What annoys me about this, about people on Twitter and things who are saying she was always there, and it's like, well, yeah, she was there because she's got a job. Like, what were you doing at that time? You were at home on the internet, on benefits probably, or whatever, when she's out there doing an actual job doing something worthwhile, whereas what are you doing? Sat there taking photos for Instagram and then making these comments about other people, and it just doubly annoys me. It doubly annoys me.
Now, and she was there, but she wasn't the only one that was there. During the day, there are typically about 10 nurses there, as well as doctors, as well as cleaning persons and so on and so forth. There's a huge number of people there. And the idea that she did all these things to all these babies and nobody saw a thing.
That's the other thing.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
How many other nurses were there? Now, the business about, and when she moved from night shifts to day shifts, the deaths followed her. Well, when she moved to day shifts, there were hundreds of other nurses there all the time, and nobody saw her do anything.
Yeah, so many times people will say nobody saw lots of other murders taking place, but what they don't realise is that with these other murders, what they don't realise is that with Letby, there was often at least like 3 other people in the room with her at a time. And I've been meaning to post this I'll call it a conversation. There's like an email chain that the BBC sent me when I complained about the panorama, when she said, when Judith Moritz said that Letby was alone for baby C, and they were, and I said she wasn't alone. There was other nurses in the nursery, and the response I got back was basically like, yes, there were other people in the nursery, but she was still alone looking after the baby. It's like, you're not alone then, are you? And that's not the definition of alone. Like, no. I mean, if the police said, if you needed an alibi or something, and they said, were you alone? And you said, yeah, apart from my wife in the room, you're not alone. Even though your wife's doing watching TV or something. I mean, that's the is that not the definition of alone?
No, I totally get what you mean, Mervyn, and but it just hits me again and again that as soon as we start thinking about who is where, how many shifts somebody was on, how many times somebody was there, we're in a kind of state of false consciousness that they've put us in, which is about, well, if there are no crimes, it doesn't matter how many times you're there. If the babies have died of natural causes and substandard care, who is where when is completely irrelevant. It's
so what if it rained every day and she was there? Was she causing the rain?
Well, exactly. And why could there not be a small group of doctors who, between them all, murdered all the babies? Then why couldn't that be the case? Well, there's no evidence of that, and there's equally no evidence that Lucy Letby, because there's no evidence of murder. If there's no evidence of murder, all this other stuff is just is nonsensical. It has no meaning. Facebook searches have no meaning.
No.
Handover sheets have no meaning at all.
No.
Yeah.
If there are no, if somebody
Facebook searches show she's a very normal human being. Remember, especially because almost none of them concern the families of the babies who died.
Yeah.
But I think the point, I'm not making it well, but people have been pulled and invited into the arguments that you've got to kind of extricate yourself from, that once you realize there are no crimes, all those arguments become completely moot. They're irrelevant. They have no purchase on reality or in relation to crimes. There are no crimes.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem at the moment is that because the Netflix documentary has been watched all over the world, especially in the English-speaking world, it means there's a whole load of new people got intrigued by the Lucy Letby case, and many of them will have watched the first 3/4 of an hour and then switched off. And so all the discussions which we have been having with so many people for so many months are being repeated. It's back to square one. It's not really. It's just new people coming along, and they start off absorbing the propaganda, and then you have this. Yeah,
that's why I like the Knox podcast, because she's probably going to get even more listeners than the Netflix. And
yes,
what a great job she's doing with that.
Yes, it was.
I can't wait for the next. And she's going to do like 10 episodes or something, I heard her say.
Really?
I guess so, yeah.
I suppose it can go as long as it can go for, because there could be, in the interim period, there could be new information that could then form a new podcast. It's kind of open-ended in that way, I'd imagine.
Yes.
And because
it was beautifully done, especially the second one was even more brilliant than the first one.
Oh, so and she was talking about, she was talking about the grievance that went on and things that people had never heard before, I'm sure. You know, no one had heard about the grievance, her winning the grievance and coming back on the ward, and the consultants having to apologise. You know, I just thought, this is fantastic.
That's true, and podcasts have in recent years become incredibly powerful, because people they can just listen to it in a car. They can, it can get huge numbers of listens. Yeah, it'd be very, very effective, and I think it will be. I think it will be more probably than a standalone documentary in that sense, because people are building like knowledge and understanding through time. Sorry, chat, I've neglected all the comments, but it's something. I can't remember who said it now, but apparently there's a 40-minute. Beg your pardon, I can't remember who said it. A 40-minute Shuley.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that in a sec.
Yeah. I'm just having a look at my notes, so we could wrap it up soon. But so I mentioned about Dr. Storm, new Thirlwall documents. There's the thing with Peter Hitchens and the FOI. He went to the Information Commissioner's office and they pushed it back on the Cheshire Police, saying you can't just deem Peter Hitchens vexatious. You've got to give him an appropriate answer. And he was asking in relation to the press conference prior to the trial, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it's pointless them saying that to him anyway, because he'll only ask his neighbour to do it. It's completely pointless of Cheshire Police to even make the complaint.
Yes, it's not going to fly, and now it's become a public. It just looks like another defensive.
Well, not. But like I say, even if they upheld it, if he wanted the information, he'll just ask someone else to do it.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, he could do that. Yeah, I mean, they might give the same response, or they might just use some other reason, but I don't know what that would be. Says. Oh, and another big thing is Michelle Warden in the Sun, the article as well. That was a fantastic article as well. I think that's going to change a lot of hearts and minds, as they say, because this is someone who's worked in that hospital, in that unit, and I think
she's been on the Amanda Knox podcast as well.
Yes, brilliant. I think that's really going to make a massive difference, because people will be saying, well, you can believe the real story, the true story is so much more out there now through different voices. It's not just the ghouls and misfits anymore, but it's No,
well, before just as you were coming on stream, I was making I was just making notes, because I was going to do a little video about Amanda Knox and as well. But it's interesting if you know a lot about it, Richard, and the case, that I might speak to you about it.
Well, it's a fascinating case, and it's very, very complex. And
I just thought she was a little bit unusual.
Yeah, she was a little bit unusual. That helps to get a conviction, right? She behaved inappropriately according to the mentality of Italian police in a small, pretty provincial town, when you have these mundane globetrotters coming in from American England, getting active in the local drug scene and so on, and so on. It's not the usual sort of crime they investigate over there.
No, and yeah,
and it wasn't an utterly terrifying event. I mean, suppose she's innocent. Okay, maybe she's guilty, but let's suppose she's innocent. What she's experienced is terrifying, and would have been so terrifying for a young woman of whatever it was, 20 or something.
20 years old, yeah.
19 or 20 or something. I mean, one of your flatmates is brutally murdered.
Yeah, but there were other flatmates who didn't act like her, basically, who were acting a little bit more normal. But yeah, they do. Yeah. But,
okay, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
She was kind of high with being a 20-year-old American from Seattle, finding herself in this far away from her parents for the first time in her life.
I think the prosecutor was a bit like Evans in that he's developed this idea in his mind and he's just sticking with it for whatever reason in the Italian prosecution.
The police had developed that idea.
I thought he
ran with it.
Yeah, but he's embroidered it into a whole kind of system.
Well, that's the job of the prosecutor. The job of a prosecutor is to make one story out of it, which is convincing.
But he should be doing it honourably. He shouldn't be doing it just in a fanciful way of creating this.
I don't know if it was dishonourable or not.
Basically, what I'm going to be saying in my video is that Letby is nowhere near as odd and quirky as Knox. You know, there shouldn't be this ambiguity with Letby that there was with Knox. And I'm just going to point out some of the differences.
She wasn't 20 anymore. She wasn't a child anymore.
This is the way I look at it, that if I was suddenly accused of some terrible crime and then people were filming me, it'd be very easy, especially through the media, to be depicted and deemed odd, strange, and maybe it could be odd anyway, outside of being accused of a crime. But it'd be very easy for the public to be directed, for any of us here to be deemed odd, strange, weird.
Yeah,
it wouldn't take much for them to do it. That's my view about it. You know.
Well, I'm just saying you can sort of understand if odd normally means there's something up. You know, if you're expecting someone to act one way and they're acting different to what you would consider an innocent person to act like that, and they're acting odd, that's why they go down that route.
But is that because I want to suggest or ask, is that because people have a fictional view, from what they've seen in fiction about how people quote unquote should act under certain pressures, under certain...
No, I don't. I think you've got your own experience to go. Like, you've got your own experience to go through. Lots of people have lost loved ones and know what they would and wouldn't do.
Oh, I agree with losing loved ones, but how many of us have been accused of a crime of murder?
But she would know. But she wasn't actually accused. That when she was acting odd, they hadn't accused her. Basically, they were investigating. Yeah, they were investigating. She was just a witness. She was just a witness.
She wasn't a witness.
No, I mean,
are you talking about witness, when she and right? What's his first name?
She came home and discovered the body.
Yeah. Sorry, I did.
And they're kissing outside.
Yeah, she was just like a person. Well, she wasn't even a person. They were just asking her questions as as they would with the rest of their flatmates, and she was just a bit odd.
Sorry, are you talking about the police asking her questions? Or
the police were asking her questions, and she was acting very odd.
But Amanda Knox's, when she's spoken about that, when I've heard her speaking, is that they're putting enormous pressure on her over many, many hours, and they're browbeating her, and they're almost feeling as though they're going to physically attack her. She feels as though she's going to be physically attacked. And
they got a gut feeling this is an odd one. Well, so what? Now somebody in the discussion is saying, yeah, she was called Foxy Noxy when she was a kid. So okay, so she's maybe more intelligent and cunning than the average. Maybe the police noticed that she was clever, and this made them find her suspicious.
They're trying to solve a crime, but they're trying to
solve a crime, and it's a gruesome crime.
Yeah,
and
a crime has been committed as well in this case.
A gruesome crime has been committed, yes, and the shit of Rudy. What's his grader in the?
That's the other thing I was going to talk about.
Yes, and
well, there was DNA on the body of Miss Kircher.
The DNA analysis is completely screwed up by poor handling of the crime scene.
Well, I don't think she murdered.
DNA analysis has been totally destroyed.
Yeah, I don't think she murdered.
DNA expert in the world.
I don't think she murdered her or anything, but I can just kind of see why the police thought she was a suspect, because she was acting weird.
Yes. Okay, good. If we put it that way, yes, I agree. Yes, she acted weird in there, according to their picture of how young ladies ought to act. And apparently, one of them, the prosecutors, thought that the murder was done in the typical way a woman would do it.
Because the body was covered with a sheet, and apparently men wouldn't do that.
Well, there have been many instances in which it's the idea that you're ashamed of what you've done, and whether there's been a male offender.
I don't know, but
really, I mean, this is we're getting to the level of the shredder now. She lied about the shredder, so she must have done it.
That's what I've written on my
yeah, but I mean, that's the level it gets to, because people decide these things on various gut feelings, and then they, from there on, it's confirmation bias. So once you know Amanda did it, then obviously the sheet over the body confirms your hypothesis.
Yeah. The problem, it seems to me, is that there's something either wrong with how the police are trained, or with the mentality of certain number of officers, is that they think they've got to get somebody for this case as opposed to get to the truth. There needs to be a recalibration about what their job is, and it shouldn't be about just closing the case as long as you can get someone for it. You know, I know that they wouldn't say that that's what they're doing, but that is what they do. And that's a real...
Well, in the Amanda Knox case, there is a murder, we agree with that. And they do have to find the murderer.
Yeah,
and the whole world is watching them, including American and British TV cameras. So
yes.
They're under enormous pressure.
I don't know if either of you or anyone in the chat saw, there was an interview in Italian of Rudy Guerda. It's like a 2-hour, 90-minute interview with him. I watched it a few years ago. But I mean, I came away from listening to that, and he didn't come across as a murderer. In fact, quite the opposite, in fact. And it was quite... I mean, he's been released very early from a 30-year sentence, hasn't he? He was released in 2021. So, is it possible that none of the people who they tried to get, who they originally accused of doing this murder, is responsible? That it's someone else, or is that possible even?
I don't.
I think it was Rudy.
I think Guerda was he sold drugs, he used drugs, and he was a criminal. He stole stuff. He may have kind of be a reformed character by now. I hope so.
Well, he has actually been convicted of assaulting a partner since leaving prison.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
right. But he
But-
seems perfectly normal. Right.
But that I'm not saying that means that he was convicted of the crime, but does it mean it just makes me wonder.
I'm sure it was him.
You're sure it was him? Yeah. It's an interesting interview. There's an Italian.
Not obviously not
journalist.
100% sure.
Are you not? You're not 100% sure, Richard?
Now look, I calculated the chance of Lucy Letby being guilty, and I put the odds 1,000,000 to 1 she's innocent, at least.
1,000,000
So
to
that's
1.
I'm as near certain as you can
1,000,000
be.
to 1 on.
1,000,000 to 1 on innocence. Yeah. Right, 1 in a million, less than 1 in a million that she's guilty.
Yeah.
And there's so many other cases that you hear about on Twitter and other places, like Robin Garbutt, and that's interlinked with the post office, the post office scandal as well, because the prosecution used that as his motive, that it was found out that he had quote unquote committed fraud.
Yeah.
And
I feel that
Jeremy Bamber is another thing as well.
I'm not at quite the same level of certainty about Amanda Knox, but I mean,
no, basically, I don't think she killed him, but I think there might have been something else going on.
Maybe some other things going on. Yeah.
Basically, this is what I'm going to say, because you know about the case, Richard.
Yes.
Now, there was reports that Amanda and Meredith had an argument about not cleaning about Amanda not cleaning the toilet properly after use, right? Yes. With a bog brush, basically. Then, and I just think a little bit coincidental that someone leaves a literal shit in the toilet.
Oh, well, we know whose shit that was.
Yeah.
We do know whose shit that was.
We do know, yeah. But
yes,
a little bit coincidental that the murderer comes in. Well, firstly, who actually breaks into someone's house and then goes to the toilet? Who does that? And then not even flush as well. And I just think it's a bit of strange coincidence.
But it was staged. It was a staged event. It was staged to look like a burglary by the person who was likely driven.
Well, the police thought that, but
maybe it was staged. But in retrospect, I mean, he probably came there to sell drugs or something, and he was probably on drugs at the time.
Isn't that crime fundamentally a crime related to, well, sex is part of it, and then that's why the prosecution had to bring in this fantastical idea that they're all involved in some kind of sexual torture situation, which is bizarre. I thought,
yes,
utterly bizarre.
Well, I've been with so.
I can imagine them thinking that, but it is totally bizarre. But the problem is they so screwed up the forensics that we will never know with enough certainty.
There was a part of Meredith Kircher's apparel, the bra link, wasn't it, that was apparently not seen and not picked up, and it had been then pushed across the floor here, there, and everywhere,
and mixed up with other junk. And anyway, I mean, you know what dust is if you don't clean your house a lot. Dust is human skin.
Yes, mostly skin. Yeah, that's what it is.
Mostly skin. It's just and it's full of DNA, of course. And the people who live in that house, their DNA is all over the place.
All over the place, yeah.
Yes, it was like one of the knives had a very tiny trace of blood on it. But then, you know, when you're using knives, you can easily cut yourself very. It was. Yeah. I mean, I'm really glad that Amanda Knox has taken this on, and I think it will be.
Me too.
I think overall it will absolutely help Lucy Letby, I believe. Do you think so, Mervyn? Well, you're saying you think the podcasts themselves are very.
The podcast. Regardless of whether or not you think Knox is guilty, the podcast is good the podcast is great quality. And
Yes.
so, I do think it will help. And like people will come. I think people should come out of it thinking more that Letby is innocent than they think Knox is innocent. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope it's operating from the base that, well, here's somebody, Amanda Knox, who's suffered a miscarriage of justice,
Well,
so she would know what it feels like, as it were.
Knox, she had been bitten because she was advocating innocence for someone else, and then some more information came out, and she hadn't done her homework, and it emerged that they actually were guilty. And now she's being extra cautious, and so, she really put it. I think she put in like 2 years research or something for this podcast. I mean, and of course she's collaborating with Clouchy de Oliveira.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it could end up being like an award-winning podcast.
Yeah, it's got to be winning an award.
Traction, I hope.
Yeah,
it does.
I hope it does win an award. It is award-winning. I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
Well, if you think Liz Hull and Caroline Cheatham's won an award, that's well. Anyway, I'll leave that there.
Okay.
So, was there anything else we haven't really covered that's been going on lately that either of you or sorry, chat, I haven't been following all the comments, but is there anything else? Because Sarah Napton also interviewed Amanda Cox in the Telegraph as well, didn't she? I was reading
Amanda Knox.
Yeah.
Slip of the tongue.
Doctor. What did I say? Did I say something else?
What
I said now. But
there's a nice comment by David Dickinson, X4P3C.
Oh, yes.
Says, Lucy is a very high functioning neurodiversity. Such people suffer simply for not being a typical member of the group. They're often bullied, rejected, and hated simply for being focused elsewhere. Now, I think so too. People talk about this, and people get angry when I say I think she's a little bit autistic.
I don't think she is, but I've never met her, but I don't think from everything I've read, I don't think so. But like I say, I've never met her, so you'd need to meet someone to know that, wouldn't you?
I disagree.
Yeah.
No,
I think there are telltale signs. I think being excessively tidy and neat and keeping pieces of paper under your bed, scraps of paper, having a passion for collecting scraps of paper is typical neurodiverse, and being very careful and precise in the rules. She knew how things should be done on that unit. That's why she wrote all the what they call them.
The datixes.
The datix things. I mean, she even wrote datix things about things which she did wrong. And, and her first supervisor in nursing training thought that she was very poor in sort of human communication.
Yeah.
And the second one thought
that
she was
doesn't mean
fantastic.
You've got a disease.
It's not a disease. It's not a disease. I am very exhausted. I am extraordinarily neurodiverse. I'm a high-functioning neurodiverse person with severe Asperger tendencies. But I have used it to my benefit.
Richard,
yeah.
Sorry, the first instance you cited there of her first supervisor thinking such and such a thing about her. What's missing from the pictures? We know nothing about who that supervisor is. Whether that could be. I'm not saying it is, but that could be someone who's a brilliant,
right bitch.
Exactly. Probably was a right bitch. There are right bitches in the world, unfortunately.
That she had it in for her, or just found.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of personalities.
I'm not saying.
No, I know you're not
Yes.
saying it's a matter of fact, but it's.
Well, it's
but
a
do you
matter of
think,
fact that she got that criticism.
yeah, it's
Now,
yes, precisely.
if she had been like the kind of ordinary person who everybody thinks is very normal, then that would have been less likely.
Yes, and so perhaps what we're looking at here is in organisations like the NHS, they've got a bullying problem. It's absolutely endemic, and it will be more likely to be targeted towards certain personality types than others.
Why did they pick on Colin Norris? Because he's over the top gay and a guy, both as a nurse. Very weird.
Yeah, so there's
why
some
did they pick on Ben Geen?
Yeah,
he was training. He was training to be a nurse he was a guy, and he was training to be a nurse in order to become an army nurse.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And he behaved like he was very excitable and energetic, and he worked bloody hard because he wanted to get the experience. And the matron hated him. So these were people who stood out in the crowd and were different from the others. And
does this apply to Lucia de Burke in some way, that she was seen as an outlier in terms of?
Yes, she was.
Who she was in the hospital there from other staff.
She was. She was much older than the others, typical nurses, because she'd had a rather interesting adolescence and young adulthood. She'd even for a period sort of been a prostitute, and she's a fantastic character. She's really different. She's very different from your average nurse. And she had a lot of night shifts together with another nurse who was a kind of very sort of straight-minded, normal person. And they got to tell one another lots about themselves, as you might do in long night shifts when nothing much happens. And it was that sort of partner on recent night shifts who after the death of baby Amber, went to matron and said, I'm really worried. I think Lucia had something to do with that death. So it was actually one of the fellow nurses who triggered the suspicions against Lucia. And then, of course, you have Victorino Chua, who is a homesick Filipino, who was very depressed and having some psychotherapy.
Now, is Victorino Chua, was he the one who got charged over insulin poisoning after they tried to charge a nurse?
Yes. So, a female nurse that they really. I'm just going to put
Rebecca Layton.
Rebecca Layton, and then and then they decided, it wasn't her, it was Victorino. But,
yes.
And what do you think? What do you think about? Do you think that conviction is completely unsafe as well?
I think it's completely unsafe as well. Yes, I see just the same pattern.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I read it.
Yeah, I think there was found some. So it was supposed to be insulin, but it was supposed to have been not injected into the patient, but into
the bags. In the bags again.
Into the bags. So apparently there are bags with pinpricks in them. But I think I wouldn't put it past the police to put some pricks in some bags at some point. And I have no idea how well they kept the evidence in that case. And the bags could have been tampered with at the factory. I found out a little bit about the case. For instance, the police investigated whether it would have been possible to tamper with the bags elsewhere. And so they asked a factory executive, is it possible to tamper with bags? And the executive said, no.
No, of course.
That was that. And of course, they would end of investigation. Drop that line of investigation. I mean, they sort of close these things down in a routine way, which is, I see no reason whatsoever to suppose he did anything wrong, and he did not confess, and he wrote, he was very, very depressed, and wrote about what a bad person he was in his sort of diary notes to himself, as one does. Yeah, that's one might
Sorry,
do.
because I was just outside then. Is
Yeah.
that Victorino Chua?
Victorino Chua, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's innocent. I think it's very safe to say he's innocent. And I noticed that the 19 nurses also list Victorino and Colin and Ben Geen as likely similar cases to Lucy Letby.
Yes, indeed. There's something else I wanted to bring up that I've got a tab up here, and it's the statement from the Thirlwall inquiry. An update on the final report came out on the 27th of February. It's saying that they committed in November to report by the end of this month, i.e. February. But then they say we'll report a further update after Easter. But there's a line in here that they state, which is about sending warning letters to those who may be subject to explicit or significant criticism. That's one of the duties that they're undertaking. Do either of you and the chat have any thoughts about what these warning letters might consist of, and to whom they might be sent?
They should have sent those out already
Right.
last year. So it's their update to me was just a generic, but we're still waiting. Yeah. We know why they can't release the report.
Yeah, but they can't say why they can't.
It's just a silly little game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a silly little game. This is part of the reason why they can't release it yet, because they've got to give us some other people some. I mean, and who will they be? Well, they will be the managers, presumably.
Yes. Is the CCRC?
They might criticise the consultants for not having gone to the police on their own bat earlier. Right? They could do that. They could criticise Jairam for not having brought up his story about baby K earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I don't know how you both feel and how everyone in the chat feels about, in terms of the three managers, we're presuming Mr. Chambers, Mr. Harvey, and one of the other ones. I don't know which one that would be necessarily, but it's that they're never going to face a charge of anything. I don't think they will they?
No.
It's not going to be possible, because the police would essentially have to argue against themselves as to why they didn't want to investigate them initially, wouldn't they? They're stuck in that corner.
You never know, but
you never know. That's true. You never know.
Well,
crazy.
Ian Harvey was a little bit sneaky, where he was a little bit sneaky where he asked Jane Horden to look for air embolism, but as a natural cause, because it can happen naturally. And so he was a little bit sneaky there, when maybe he should have said, he could have been criticised and said, look, you've asked, Thirlwall could say, look, you've asked her to look for air embolism, why are you asking to look for that? Because the consultants were alleging deliberate air embolism, so he could be criticised for saying, well, you should have asked her to look for deliberate air embolism.
But the consultants didn't allege air embolism ever, did they?
Yeah, Jairam came up with it.
Sorry?
Yeah,
Jairam came up with it.
Oh, Jairam came up with it.
Yeah, he came up with it, and was alleged to have found the 1989 paper on.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry. Yes. I understand now. Yeah.
And so there were rumours, and it went through the grievance, right. and then Ian Harvey said, "Oh, just to make sure, we'll instruct Horden." And then in his specific instructions, he said, "Can you look for air embol? Can you look for rare things like air embolism?" But he didn't say deliberate.
Okay. No.
He
Well,
just
that
said,
was right. That
Is
was
there a
right. I think he said the right thing then.
Yeah, because I was going to ask: is it a different thing to look for air embolism per se, as opposed to deliberate air embolism?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, I think Horden would see her duty anyway to also say whether she felt that it was deliberate or natural.
Yeah, but the thing about Horden at Thirlwall is that she says, had I been told that there were suspicions of deliberate harm,
that's because she's just covering her ass.
Covering herself then.
She's just covering for herself under the supposition that Lucy is guilty. And so, of course, she feels a little bit guilty that she didn't find.
Yeah, she would have done a better job had she been given.
She could be getting a letter because she didn't find proof of murders.
Yeah. So she's jumped on that train, isn't she? So there's a question.
The original pathologist at Alderhay, why aren't they getting letters for not picking up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, George. Yeah, but he's retired, so they can't touch him for anything.
Well, they could turn it into a criminal offence.
Could you
do that?
I don't
know.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't.
Look, 7 bodies.
Six. You've been retired.
Sorry, 6 bodies have gone past you without you noticing they've been murdered after you've done an autopsy. Yeah. Come on, you got to be written to.
Well, you could be written to. I'm not sure you could. It could be.
I think it could be criminal.
Could really? I don't. Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. There's a question from Trevor Chapel.
Like criminal incompetence.
Okay, well,
yeah.
There is a level at which incompetence is criminal.
Look, can I ask this question from Trevor Chapel? Says, was it Breary who ordered that the 2 TPN bags be disposed of? Do we know?
Get disposed of. I know because I was trying to chase these TPN bags. Someone said they weren't. They kept them, and the consultants emailed the pathologist, and basically the pathologist said they're not needed. So they would have, it was the pathologist who would have just said they weren't needed. So then they sort of got disposed of then.
Well, I suppose at the point they were disposed of, there was never any suggestion that there was any malintent there, was there? So that it's it was never thought of as a potential crime, was it, at the time at all, by anybody?
The RCPCH report blames the consultants for not having properly investigated the unexpected and disturbing events and deaths at the time. At the time they happened.
At the time they happened.
The consultants were the top medical people there in charge of that, right? Unexpected, serious adverse events happen. Deaths happen which were not expected, allegedly. And no proper investigation is done at the time, immediately at the time, into what had happened. That's a complaint that RCPCH made about the consultants.
And the thematical review wouldn't cut it for them then, the idea of a thematical review or Gibbs's review.
I'm talking about individual at the times of individual events. When bad things happen, there should immediately be investigation into what has happened. And of course, there should also immediately be stuff saved. So that you can...
I do see what you mean, but what that throws into light is that it's all done in retrospect.
Yeah, and here's the ultimate ridiculous one of baby E, the baby that didn't have a post-mortem. Okay, why didn't it? The fact that they're trying to say, oh, it didn't have a post-mortem, so we'll never know. But the fact that the baby didn't have a post-mortem goes to show you how confident they were in that natural cause of death. So you shouldn't even be, that baby should be so far off the spectrum of suspicion. Right. The fact that they didn't even bother to have a post-mortem.
Oh, absolutely right. It's all done in retrospect as a story that you're telling after the event. After the events have long gone.
Yeah,
that's why these anomalies keep being thrown up, like that. That's a prime one.
That was less than £3 baby with all kinds of extraordinary, awful complications.
That was the poor baby that bled a lot, and
the gastrointestinal bleeding or whatever it was.
But I think overall things are moving in a very
transfusion syndrome
direction. Sorry, beg your pardon. Twin to twin.
Baby 5 was a twin, and he had twin to twin transfusion syndrome.
Yeah. Have you had any more interactions with Sarah Hawkins, Richard, about her thoughts about the twins and the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome and the twin studies at Liverpool Women's Hospital and so forth?
No, not anymore. No. The short answer is no. I had a brief contact recently, but it turned out that like she was butt calling me or vice versa or something like that. I'm sure ladies don't butt call, but whatever. Anyway, that's an accidental.
I don't know. I'm still trying to get a bit of information as to comparative rates of multiples in previous years, which would be really good to have that data, but they've resisted it once and I've tried it again to hopefully can get something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think there will be that 13-month period will be an absolute anomaly in terms of multiples in that unit.
Yeah.
So I've asked them back from 2009.
Absolutely, yes.
But it's just that they're resistant to telling. And there was another thing that Anouk Curry suggested to do was to express as a percentage of to what degree of occupancy the intensive care cots were being used at the Countess of Chester Hospital over a period of time, and expressed as a percentage of usage or uptake over time. That would be really useful as well. But it
would be, and of course we should actually, and during the period of the indictments, we should be knowing it for every day.
Well, yes, I think that's right.
Those are the kinds of numbers which you need, because you see how Breary had been presenting numbers which appear to show that the unit is just average. He's very selective in which numbers he shows. And he's sort of deliberately avoiding the numbers which could really show in what way it was different.
He's absolutely finessing it, and that's why I've been trying to get information from Betsy Cadwallader, and they blocked me on FOIs. I had 9 outstanding FOIs. I put them on post in case anybody else wants to try them. I know a couple of people have tried, but it was just to build up the picture about excess babies coming into COCH from North Wales.
Yes.
I tell you that the point at which they blocked me was when I was asking about, because I was on a rolling thing about doing FOIs to them, was when I asked them about the actual closures during that indictment period. So there's meant to be 17 or 19 periods of closure. What happened to the babies during those closure periods? And for the Welsh Health Board, that's a very political thing to be asking them. And I think that's what's brought the shutters down, really. Personally, I think that's possible anyway.
So, sorry, I'm going to head out.
Yeah, well,
Cheers.
thanks for coming on, Mervyn. Good to see you, and have a good rest of the week. And thanks for coming on.
Cheers.
Look, take care of
Yes.
yourself.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
And so, and then there were two.
And then there were two.
Where's
I
my
found
drink?
out why I was getting the double thing. I had another YouTube window open.
Oh, is that what it was?
And so I couldn't see it. I mean, it was in a different tab, you know. So I couldn't. couldn't see.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes, can't it? And
stupid things.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just I don't know how I manage doing these things on this stream, but we seem to get there. We seem to get there, don't we? And
yes.
But can I just ask you? Perhaps we'll wrap it up soon. But
yeah.
do you feel overall? Do you feel quite positive about where we are now in terms of where it's moving?
Yes, I feel very positive. I'm very positive that this. I'm basically not interested in the report of the Thirlwell inquiry. It will come out and it will be full of fluff and misdirection and the interesting stuff they've put in on their website, right? So we've had fantastic profit from it. But I think the CCRC basically can't fail to realise that Lucy Letby is probably innocent and that at the very least, a retrial is necessary. Of course, I'm not confident that the Court of Appeal would do anything. So that will be the next bridge to cross. And of course, I have no idea how long the CCRC will take. It might take I imagine it could easily take a year from now. One would hope that it would be finished sooner. In some sense, I think it could be finished very soon, especially for instance, if they would get Anna Milan and Gwen Walk to agree with the sort of present opinion among knowledgeable people about insulin poisoning.
Yeah,
that would make a big. That would be a big thing. It would make a big thing if some of the key prosecution experts actually supported. The former key prosecution experts would now support the McDonald's team experts. It really would. That would be I mean, there's a certain amount of ground has been gained with regard to Professor Hindmarsh and what's been going on with him. Yes.
But
I mean, but it would be better still if Hindmarsh would actually agree that he was wrong. Well, that would be even more useful.
It would be more, and that in that capacity, that's what I wrote to him a couple of months ago about him reflecting on that, his input in that, as opposed to what's been coming out today.
But I fear everybody's going to sort of stay hiding and hoping that somebody else will get the blame and not them, and so it will take them a while, I suppose. But
I think so, and I think with the hardcore of the consultants, I don't see any of them cracking, especially the ones that are still working in the NHS. Father Gibbs, I don't know.
Father Gibbs.
Well, you know, he should.
Maybe I should send him an email and ask him if I can confess my sins to him.
Yeah, I mean, I contacted a vicar of the area that he's in. I'm not sure if he's directly involved in former Dr. Gibbs going through the process to become a vicar, but to say, you know, can you stage a sort of spiritual intervention here to say that it's a very serious thing to bear false witness, because quite crucially, you know, leaving aside lots of other things to do with Dr. Father Gibbs, is that he is and was always fully aware that Dr. Jayaram had told him via email that Lucy Letby had come out to get him, Dr. Jayaram, in relation to baby K. So he can't be innocent of that, and he isn't innocent of it.
No, but I wouldn't put any money on that.
No,
Gibbs doing the right thing.
which
He's
is a
sanctimonious bastard.
Sanctimonious bastard. That's nicely.
May I say that?
Yes, you certainly can here. Yeah, and I think it's there's a complete lack of reflection, and in terms of what he's part of. He might be thinking about it internally. He might be wrestling with it, but he's not. That's not the point, is it? They've got to come out. And
yes,
I also tried to write. Well, I did write to Dr. Holt as well, Alderhay, in a similar vein, but I don't know whether it's. I think you're right. They're kind of they're still in the bunker mentality about it.
Yes. So we just have to wait and see. It's going to be a long wait, I'm afraid. A spineless tosses. Yes.
And Wesley says, sins, tiny, tiny sins. Yeah, things are tiny.
Tiny sins.
Well,
at least the Church of England newsletter has come out on Lucy's side.
Has it really? Seriously? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Church of England newsletter. Oh, that's good.
That was a while ago. The Church of England newsletter. I mean, Christ. I mean, that's Christ. Sorry. I mean,
yes,
that's clear. England is still basically a theocracy, a bit like Iran.
I didn't see that.
The king is the king, and he's also the head of the Church of England.
Yes. Yeah.
And all the bishops are in the House of Lords. So maybe Gibbs will become a bishop, and then he'll be in the House of Lords. No.
And we mustn't bash the bishop, whatever we do.
Yeah.
But, I don't know whether to leave it there on that.
Yes, maybe we should leave it there.
Perhaps we should leave it there. Thank you ever so much, Richard, and thank you ever so much, everybody in the chat and everything, and in the discussion in the comments. Sorry, I didn't get to everyone's comments, but they'll all come up on when it's reproduced.
Sonia White says this is a spiritual war. I agree. It's a holy war.
Is that how you look at it as well, Richard? That there is an element of that. Yeah.
Yes, it's a holy war. In other words, it's a jihad. Jihad is a holy war. It means a good cause. I mean,
yes, I think it's
and it is a spiritual war because it's about getting some humanity back into our institutions.
Well, that's very true. That's absolutely right, and I think it's terrible how much suffering Lucy Letby has endured and continues to endure, and her family. But
I hope she survives it, and her parents. Yeah.
Do you think I took it in a positive way? The report that she was given a job in the library as a kind of a sign. A signifier
thing,
of being not under threat as much as other people might have thought, not under threat in that environment, and not and also
I saw it as a sign of that too. Yes, and also so bloody good for her.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah,
something useful to do.
I know, and well, we wish her all the best and hope it's not going to be long now until she is released and back to her friends and family.
Yeah.
Oh, and Sonia says, thank you. Thank you, Sonia. That's love you. And thank you all, everybody in the chat. And thanks so much, Richard, for coming on. It's been great that you've come on.
Thank you.
And really appreciate it. And all the. And so are you just in the early stages, just to ask you before we go, are you in the early stages with regards to the gentleman, the anaesthetist in France? Are you at the beginnings of that?
I'm at the early stages, yes. I have got all the materials now. I've had a meeting with his defense team on Zoom. And,
you have already? Oh, gosh, that is, gosh.
Well, I mean, it was like a first meeting, right?
A first meeting,
making a plan. And my plan is, this week I've got to prepare a talk for a lecture in Aberystwyth, a Zoom lecture in Aberystwyth.
Oh,
so I'm going to do that this week. They have they have a very interesting group there, which is studying miscarriages of justice. And I'm going to be giving a lecture to students in a student course on miscarriages of justice. And I've been asked to write a paper about miscarriages of justice in the healthcare setting. So I've been very busy writing stuff.
Gosh, that's great.
And so that's going to be what I'm going to be doing next week. And then the week after, I'm going to get to work hard on actually study some of the key documents in the French case. Péchier is the man's name.
Péchier.
Frédéric Péchier.
Okay.
And we have a plan of I'm trying to think what the French is for plan of action, because I should be improving my French at the moment. Plan d'action. Hello. So we have a plan d'action, which is we've made a Zoom date for a week after I start digging into it, and then we go from there. And there's lots and lots of statistics in it. There is lots and lots of statistics in it, and it looks like just the same things. Suspicion grows. There's some odd things happening. Somebody gets the blame, and then one thing goes. One thing leads to another, and at some point there is an investigation which is totally focused on that one person, and showing that they're even using the same words. Dr. Péchier was the common denominator. The common denominator, right? They looked at all this huge list of they've got this huge list of serious adverse events, and he was there every time. Why is he there every time? Because they've only looked for events which happened when he was there.
Well,
so of course he's the common denominator. My God. And there is no... Every single event at the time was not considered cause for concern. There don't seem to have been more events than would be normal, even. The number of events is normal, but actually the police or the prosecution have found experts who said, when I saw the number of events, I fell off my chair in amazement. Je suis tombé de ma chaise. Étonné, and so on and so on.
Yes.
And there's just nothing there except a witch hunt. And there were two specialists fighting one another, giving one another the blame for the bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course I don't know if he's innocent or guilty or not, and I will do my work as an expert in the way that experts should do that. So with not any, I'm not out to prove this guy's innocent. I'm out to see if I can give any advice to the future court, because he has asked for an appeal. There will be an appeal in about a year's time. So I've basically got a year to work on this.
Gosh.
And I will work on the statistical side, and also on the methodological side, basically the forensic, the search for evidence.
Yes.
Because it's not just the evidence, it's how you search for it. The process which led you to compile this evidence is very, very important.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
And it violated all the rules in the Royal Statistical Society's little booklet. So I can tell the French court that that the investigation was totally biased and were very liable to come up with false indications. It's sort of designed to give a terribly biased answer. And fortunately, automatic translation is very, very good these days. So I put these huge documents into DeepL, French documents, and I got British English translations after a few minutes. Well, maybe after half an hour or an hour. And I'm still only on the 1 month free trial. So far it hasn't cost me anything.
That's great. That's fantastic. these are facilities to do that. It's
that's great, and they have actually been using AI. The defence team has also been feeding the prosecution arguments and the defence arguments into AI and asking an AI to come up with a conclusion. And actually, the AIs come up with some very, very good points and very good recommendations. So, I mean,
yes, I can imagine
human
why
beings are going to be superfluous.
Well, I don't even. Well, I would hope that AI doesn't have any kind of skin in the game, as it were. So it's not operating out of bias or not a will.
Well, AI is trying to please you.
Yeah, there is that. It has been criticised for being over sycophantic, and they've tried to
does do that from time to time. So you have to sort of tell it that you want it to be extra critical. And
yes, yes.
Otherwise
I tried that. I tried that with ChatGPT. I said, "Can you be sarcastic to me now for everything I say?" And it wouldn't stop. Then I couldn't stop it doing it. Even when I was saying, "Can you stop now?" It was just taking the mickey out of me. So it was,
and I've told them I don't want any money for this, because they were asking me, like, how much do you charge? And I said, I don't want anything, but if I have to come to France, I would appreciate some support of my travel expenses.
Of course.
And I said I was really looking forward to coming down to the south of France. And they said, "Oh, I'm afraid the appeal will probably be in Paris or Lyon."
Oh, right. Do you like Paris? Do you enjoy going?
Well, I love Paris, yes, but I mean, I love the south of France even more.
It would have been nice in the south of France, but
it would have been nice. So I told them I was a bit disappointed about that, but okay, well, Paris or Lyon would be okay.
So this gentleman, he is in prison at the moment. Then he's being
he's in prison, convicted of, I think, like 4 murders or something like that.
I first heard about it.
And suggestions that he has harmed hundreds.
Yes, there's always that, isn't there? And we had a shadow of that, where there was this idea that where there was a headline, I remember back some time ago, where Evans, it got out there somewhere, with Lucy Letby could have had well over 250 victims, and that died a death very quickly. But they try that on every time.
They try that. They did that with Daniela Poggiali. Maybe she killed 100 people. She was only convicted of 2 murders.
But they tried 100. They tried to go for
the statistical evidence suggested she might have killed 100, right? But not specific ones. Like, of all the people who died, 100 of them might have been killed by her. Yes, but not which 100, right? You understand?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So they had specific evidence in 2 cases, and the other ones are not cases. But the fact that the statistics said that she had probably killed 50 to 100 people was an important part of convincing the judge and jury that she was guilty.
There has to be there has to be a complete paradigm shift in how all these cases, in whatever country it is, how they're addressed and how they are looked into, even before they get a chance of getting to court, if they ever do get to court. They shouldn't be brought there, because that forum doesn't seem to be a fitting place to deal with these problems at the time, in the heat of the. I know France has got a different system. It's not the adversarial system, is it? But
nowadays they have.
Oh, they have.
They do have a jury now. It is an inquisitorial system, but they do have a jury, and the jury is partly consists of professional jurors, whatever that means, and partly, random jurors.
Yes. Yes.
So one sees all these systems sort of converging over the decades or over the centuries, and the systems the inquisitorial systems in Europe are basically being infected by watching too much American TV and stuff. So they kind of the mentality of the people in the system in the system is changing under globalizations. So the systems actually work a bit differently than how they were supposed to work.
I understand. Yeah, there's a shift, isn't there, in how they work.
Yeah.
But should we close it for this evening? And thank you ever so much.
We should do that. Yes.
Thank you ever so much again, Richard.
Otherwise, we'll start discussing the Iran business.
Oh well, yeah, I have been looking at,
no.
We won't. But I have been looking at a lot of that. It's very troubling, isn't it? But
it is. Yeah.
Upsetting.
And we could say that we are so sorry for the parents.
Oh, of course, yes. Well, absolutely, and
honestly, really sorry. It's so terrible for them.
Oh, it is, isn't it? And something we don't know is we don't know
what they really think. No, we only know what their lawyers say.
I mean,
and their lawyers have got a conflict of interest.
Yeah, they do, and we shall see. We shall see what happens.
Okay. So good night, Mark.
Longer yet. Good night, all. Good night, everybody in the chat, and thank you very much for being here. And lovely to see you, Richard. All the best to you. Take care there.
Thank you.
You've got the fantastic work. Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ending the stream now. Bye-bye, all.